Welcome to HI Live. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, here again with another episode. My co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
Listen, I already know y'all upset with us because we're running about 10 minutes late, but only for good reason. Because tonight we got one of the most prolific authors, in my opinion, one of my favorites.
Listen, better late than never, y'all.
Yeah.
Because we got somebody here that you probably don't know but need to know. I'm very excited about the brother that we have here, the author of The Masculine in Relationship. Hold the book up, Ryan. Make sure that they can see this. We got here an author here of one of our favorite books on masculinity here. We are in here rocking and probably one of the dopest names in the game. GS Youngblood is here in Hardly Initiated Studios. So it is going to be an amazing episode. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys. Tyshawn, Ryan, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Had to, man. Had to. And you know what's crazy? Just a little bit of backstory behind this book. So about 6 months ago, and I have no idea who it is. I just can't remember the young lady's name, but she would post almost on every single video, even the Instagram, hey, you got to read this book. You got to read this book. And not even looking at the book, right? Just consistently seeing the title, I finally was like, you know what? Let me go
break
ahead.
Down and finally get it. Yeah.
Let me go ahead and get this book. Yeah. And man, let me tell you, when I read it, I was like, this is gold. I started screaming from the high heels. Like every man must absolutely read this book.
And that's how I ended up reading the book.
Yep.
And I saw exactly what Ryan was talking about. And we instantly started strategizing to figure out how we can get this brother on the show, because it's not easy to get these amazing people to fly into Atlanta, Georgia to get on the show. But he responded, which made us so excited. We coordinated, and it is happening here tonight for you guys. And I'm so excited. But first, before we get into the episode, Ryan, let the people know what we got coming today.
So, guys, I'm going to make this very quick. So, of course, all super chats are appreciated. We are still very much so raising money for the studio treatment, and we're over $4,000. We only got a couple more $1,000 to go, but we plan to get it around December, January. Just kind of depending on how those donations come in. So, please make sure to send over your super chats. Also, Facebook, YouTube, give us as much likes as possible. Remember, Facebook, we only giving you 30 minutes, and then you got to bring it over to YouTube. But please hit that like button, because as many times as you hit the like button, that's the more times YouTube is going to share this video.
Yes.
And we broke a record on Monday. I think we had close to 1,400 people in the room.
Yes.
So this is the thing. First off, this needs to be the most men that we have ever had on the live need to be on this episode right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fellas, let me tell you, this is for you. Because what GS Youngblood did in that book was so incredible. He put one of the best frameworks of masculinity, and it was probably explained in the most simple, practical, implementable way I've ever read it before. And that's what we're going to actually talk about here today, because before we actually get into all the dope stuff in the book, I actually want to talk about your story to give people perspective a bit, because one thing you were very vocal about in the book was that a lot of this came from your own personal experiences. So can you kind of walk us through what some of those experiences were that, brought these frameworks to life?
Yeah, I can. It really started 14 years ago for me when my marriage imploded. And I am proud to say that I lived through a marriage that imploded in a way that was particularly painful in a lot of different ways. And by the end of that relationship, I felt emasculated. I was just really dancing around trying to stay out of trouble and keep the peace. And little did I know at the time that actually made things worse. It actually drove her farther away from me. And at the end of that, I had to find out who I was. And I knew there had to be a better way of relationship. I was married to a very strong woman. And so I went on 2 tracks after that. It was sort of David Data was what woke me up, and that's the book that the author that a lot of guys enter men's work through is David Data. My therapist gave me the book, and so I started to study with David, and then studied with some of his students as well for many years. And at the same time, I had met a woman a few years after the marriage that was a strong masculine from her father and a very strong feminine from her mother. So she could go both ways. And the question is, what would actually have her more in her feminine, more in her masculine? And so our 10 years together, and we're still together, is like a living laboratory of what opens up things in a relationship, what opens up the connection, and what closes the connection and subsequently turns her into a raging monster.
Yeah.
Of course,
Wow.
I'm being tongue in cheek when I say that, but so for 10 years, I'm studying the path, but I'm also living it, or at least trying to live it in the best way, and experimenting and learning and learning and learning. And at some point along the way, I started to take notes on patterns I observed and principles that I would codify. And then suddenly that scrap of papers got pretty big. And I said, I think I could do a book out of this, because I had written a business book about 10 years before that. So it's kind of a thing that I like to do. And that became The Masculine in Relationship. And my commitment in writing that, because I couldn't do it any other way, was to make it so guys could understand exactly what to do. And I think that was the problem for a lot of guys, including me, because I looked out for a lot of those books. And most of them were not insightful. They were not helpful.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to create something that was useful, actionable, and had depth. And I feel like I achieved that. I feel like what it is what I wanted it to be.
No, I mean, it's a instant classic. Like I said, it's really one of my favorite books, if not the favorite. And I like how you shared, unfortunate circumstance, but I just appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable with us about how your marriage imploded. Now, I think it's a lot of guys that's in that similar situation where the marriage is on the fritz, or they're just in a serious long-term relationship that is absolutely chaotic. And I really want to get your opinion from a general sense. Why do you think so many relationships between men and women are suffering?
I'm going to give you a general answer, then I'll give you a specific answer.
Okay.
The general answer is guys don't understand the dynamics of masculine, feminine polarity. Just full stop on that. And so for me, it was a wake-up call. When I found David Data, I was like, whoa, I had no idea. I had no idea I was bringing no masculine leadership to this relationship, and that a strong woman would just wilt and then become increasingly dissatisfied with me. There's a phrase that I honestly can't remember if I came up with it or read it from somebody else. I'll just say it and give credit to the universe. But most women that I know want to be loved and led by their man. That doesn't mean that she wants him to control her life. Absolutely not. But at times she wants him to step up and lead. And it can take different forms. It can take different frequencies, but it's got to be there in some fashion. They want to be loved and led. And what that means is the biggest complaints I hear from my clients that they're experiencing is the woman says, we have no emotional connection and or you don't bring any leadership to the relationship. Probably that second one is even more common. Wow. And so I think that's where guys fall down is, number one, they don't lead. And not in a misogynistic, controlling way. There's a different way to lead, and I'm sure we'll get into that today.
Yeah.
But they don't lead enough. That's number one. And then I think the one that guys don't realize is that they haven't created an emotional connection. And when my marriage was breaking down, and she says, I don't feel connected to you, I literally didn't know what that meant. I was like, okay, I don't know what you mean. Now I do. Now that's my life's work, is to help guys really create that emotional connection. Because here's the punchline. Here's like, if it can say one thing to all the guys out there, it's like, if your woman feels your leadership and she feels emotionally connected to you, all those little problems that were between the two of you, all the bickering, the irritability, criticism, it actually starts to magically float away when you do those two things.
And another thing that, first, before I actually go to my next question, I actually want to address this because I noticed you said this in multiple times you just spoke. You talked about a strong woman. What do you actually define as a strong woman? Just so we can get context around that.
Very subjective.
Yeah.
Knows what she wants and needs in a relationship. And
okay.
Really isn't going to settle. She's going to call you out. Like if you're not being relational and you're staring at your phone while she's trying to connect with you. This is just a common example. You're not being relational. And a woman who's maybe more of a wallflower is just not going to say anything. It's just going to be dissatisfied and kind of just hunker down.
Yeah.
And you'll feel it, but she won't say anything. A strong woman's going to be like, hey, this is our time together. And I would really appreciate it if you could put your phone away and actually give your attention to me.
Yeah.
Because maybe you're on a date and that's what's supposed to be happening. You're not on your phone on a date. I mean, barring certain circumstances.
Yeah.
So that's a strong woman she's gonna feel the pain of when there's something kinked in the relationship, and she's gonna speak it and say what she needs from you. And a lot of guys can't take that.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, one of my favorite parts about your book was you acknowledged that the game has changed. Like we're in a modern times, and things have changed in the dynamic between men and women. And I think your book spoke to how to deal with the new era of relationships. What do you think the biggest difference is in today's age versus what it was prior, in how the dynamic between men and women now have evolved?
Gosh, my answer is going to sound almost trite, but women need men less. Not all the time, but they don't need us as much financially and professionally and all those,
Right.
Yeah, so we all know that. So that's why I feel like that was a little bit trite. And I think there's just a general, associated with Me Too, but it's bigger than that. It's just more and more women speaking their voice in this world. And a lot of guys can't take that. That's what I said a minute ago. A lot of guys just can't take that. And I'm telling you guys, if you are with a strong woman, you're like, God, she's so much sometimes. I'm telling you, you can build the skills to turn her into a little kitty cat. You can build those skills.
I see. The thing is, hearing you now, I'm at 1000% believe that, and I have had instances where I've experienced that, right? But a few years ago, that wasn't the situation.
Yeah,
right?
You grew.
Right, I grew.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, a few years ago, I was in a bad place mentally. I would say I was for sure depressed, no hobbies, not a strong friend group. Was in a relationship that I just wasn't generally happy with. Weren't inspired, right? And I knew it was something wrong though. I knew it was something wrong. So of course, when I started my research, I started with the symptom rather than the actual issue, which was my self-worth and self-esteem. So when I went on the internet, because that's where you got to get the sauce from the game, from the internet.
Exactly.
And I would look up, like how to date women, how to sleep with women, how to have this level of success. And it was all very gamified because it was easy for me to learn. I'm like, okay, if I say this and I do this, then I can get this. So I started to study it so much. And what I would say is one of the common terms of the subject matter I was studying was alpha, this alpha male.
Yeah.
So I want you to kind of share, what is your thoughts on this, what alpha means, and kind of what all is associated with that now in terms of the type of content that's typically put out about it.
Yeah, probably the simplest way that I could phrase it is an alpha has clarity and knows what he wants, and he doesn't really give a shit what other people want. He goes for what he wants, and he's got his alphaness could come from different things. Like he might be a gigantic human being, which lends alphaness just naturally. It could be that he's just got a really assertive, strong personality, or it could even be through charisma. But it's definitely more of a law of the jungle. He's going to be on the top of the roost. And doesn't really care what other people think. And I think that's where that's great, because one of the things I write in the book is that women love that clarity. And a woman will put up with a lot of shit to get a hit of a man who lives by his own code.
Wow.
I'm just going to let that set in for a second. They'll put up with a lot of shit for a certain amount of time to be with a man who lives by his own code. The problem is the alpha tends to be less relational. And so over time, her heart just, really can wilt from that lack of relationality. And I think this is what we talked about before the show.
That was the situation.
Yeah. Alpha, for me, alpha's not a bad word. It's just a phase that I think a man passes through. In that alpha phase, you get that clarity, but you can't stay stuck there. You have to move through that and then pick up the relational skills. And this is what Tyshawn and I were talking about before we started here. Was my work is about two things. It's about being grounded within yourself, a strong man, and very skillful in the relational space between you and your partner. And that combination it's rare. And I think most women would tell you that's what they want. They want a strong man. They do not want a pushover. And we all know that.
Yeah.
Yet somehow some guys think that's the way to connect with their woman. So they want you strong, but if you're not relational, then they start to wilt after a while. And so that's kind of my view on this whole thing called alpha.
Is that what's that next level? Is it called something like that? Next level?
Relational masculinity is is kind of the moniker that I've been using for what I teach. Yeah, it's relational masculinity. You have the strength and the groundedness, the clarity, the directionality. All that can come from the alpha phase. But you have the relational skills, and that's what guys tend to be less skilled at.
So
Nobody taught
so
me.
actually
it took
women are actually unhappy if a man stays in that alpha phase over time with what you just described.
I think we have to speak in stereotypes, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, over time, most women are gonna be unhappy with that. Doesn't mean there are women out there would probably love it for the long term, but I just think the bell curve is just most people are gonna tire of that. Most women will tire of that because there's got to be some relationality. There's got to be a connection. There's got to be a care for her heart. Like you are at your most powerful when you can care for her heart, and that's kind of in the realm of how do you turn your raging angry woman into a sweet loving kitty. It's through being skilled at these relational skills.
I 1000% agree with that because I was damaging quite a few relationships that I was having, and they wouldn't make it very far. But initially, because I think me and Tyshawn even joked about this one day, my acquisition game was terrific.
Yeah.
But in terms of maintaining a woman,
Yeah,
it's just like all of those things, those tactics, those it all falls apart.
You mastered pickup.
Yep.
And you hadn't gotten yet to the relational skills yet, or some other phase.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, makes perfect sense. Yeah.
What's like one of the toughest relational skills that guys typically fail at, that you see the biggest one they're struggling with?
Yeah. This is more in the moment rather than a pattern over time, but it's when she comes with fire in her eyes about something and he's just like, I can't tolerate this. And he goes defensive. Like defensiveness is the thing I hear the most from women that just kills them because, they're expressing their pain. Maybe it's a little more on the toxic side. It happens, but they're expressing their pain and the guy gets defensive and is basically like, hey, let me convince you not to feel that way. And that's what really, I think the number one thing that crushes a lot of women's hearts is when we get defensive. Like, I'm going to convince you not to feel the way that you feel right now.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
that's not it.
No. But if you can find some alternative other than being defensive, and that's what I work with guys on, then you can start to change, and it's like it's like relational Aikido. She's got a lot of fire and you're like, oh man, this is going to go poorly. But you've got that relational Aikido to quickly calm her down because you're able to give her some emotional oxygen.
Okay. So you, which is really good. Another one of my favorite authors actually wrote the foreword for your book, Dr. Robert Glover. Yeah. And he wrote about first order and second order change.
Yeah.
Could you, if you don't mind, could you kind of dive into that concept just a bit? Because the reason why I say that is because I think all of us as individuals are focused on changing somebody else rather than changing us.
Yeah. So let's explain what first and second order means. First order is to do something in order to get something. Second order is changing your way of being. And then there's a natural outcome from that. There's a natural reaction from the universe where things change in the way you wanted them to, but you're not trying to. And I think that's where a lot of pickup and red pill differ from relational masculinity. Pickup, you do something in order to get. I mean,
right,
you run the plays or whatever they call them. That's clearly first order. But if you this is what I'm saying. If you change your way of being, now see, I need to pause here because I need to make a larger point.
Okay.
A lot of guys think that, let me really, okay. A lot of guys think that they've got to do a certain thing in order to get their woman to calm down. Like she has to change. She needs to go to therapy. She needs to be less of a bitch. She needs to do this to fix this because she's coming at me with so much fire. And what I tell guys is you don't realize how much power you have to change her way of being simply by changing your own way of being. And what I mean by that is like, if she's upset because you didn't make a reservation for the restaurant, like that's a clear lack of your leadership. Like as a new practice, actually start getting tighter on your leadership, so the next time you call, you get that reservation for the Saturday night dinner that you told her you were going to take her out on, and you're not left stuck sitting in the waiting room for an hour waiting for a table. Like that's the smallest of examples. Change your own way of being by bringing more leadership. You will find that she is not getting upset with you about these gaps in leadership. And I think this is what first and second order is. Instead of trying to do something like get her to change, you actually change your own way of being. And I think that's what I try to tell guys. You can diffuse all these fights before they happen by just living the blueprint from the book, and we'll get to that, what the blueprint is, but
Yes.
live the blueprint. It's a 3-part framework. If you start to live that, you will find that woman you thought was kind of, she complained, if you thought she complained or criticized a lot, you'll find that all that starts to abate when you start to change your way of being. And I think that's what Robert's getting at with that second order change.
That was actually my favorite part of the book was the 3-part framework. And could you explain that 3-part framework to the audience and what the framework was for?
Yeah. So I knew I needed a framework because like stuff that doesn't have structure doesn't make sense to me. So it was really almost self-serving. And I also knew that I needed a model of masculinity that actually fit in our modern world. And that's not by watering it down. That's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But it's a model of masculinity that doesn't step on anybody's toes. It's not about having power over anybody. It's about a way of being. And so that's where the blueprint came from, was something that just could work in our modern world. And here it is. So there's 3 elements. The first element is respond versus react. And this is the quality of a man who he's grounded. He's not reactive. He lives out of choice a lot. And moment to moment, you can just see he chooses how he's being. And there's a stillness to him that others can feel. He's got a very grounded nervous system is what's happening.
Yeah.
And when you have a grounded nervous system, that actually transmits out to everybody else, especially your feminine partner, because she can feel these things.
Yep.
So if you're grounded, she's going to start to become more grounded. You're like a grounding rod for her. So that's respond versus react. And so in the book, I talk a lot about the impact of trauma and anxiety and the sense of threat. Like, what does all that mean? And I try to tie it a little bit back to, your childhood. And a lot of guys don't want to go there. So I keep it light.
Right.
But the thing I say is, look, you have some trauma. Even if you don't go figure it out, you have some trauma, and it causes these non-linearities in your own behavior. It's like when you collapse instead of, keeping your point of view. Those are things that you do that are non-linear, and that comes back from your trauma. So I talk about trauma. The most important thing I talk about, the thing that's most important to me, is the embodiment practices that I put in the book. And I talk about embodiment. And embodiment is about how do you take your awareness, your attention, and take it from your kind of ruminating mind and turn a little bit of it down into the physicality of your own body. And when you just kind of live a little bit more embodied, what you find is you're actually much more in the present moment. And the reason is because since the sensation you've got some attention on only happens in this moment. Thoughts are future and past. But sensation is in this moment only. So if you have a little bit of awareness, like if you can just, even as you look at me, guys, feel the weight of your butt on the chair. There's a sensation. You feel the chair pushing up, and you feel your weight getting pulled down by gravity. So if we were having a charged conversation, but you kept a little bit of attention on the sensation of weight, you're going to be less reactive because you're getting less lost in my intensity over here. And because you're anchored, just a little bit of your awareness is anchored in the now, and you're going to be that much less reactive. And so that's just one small principle of embodiment. So I just push guys, man, the number one thing you can do to build your masculine core is to have a daily embodiment practice, which is why I wrote my second book on that. So The Art of Embodiment is my second book. And even though it's a much more niche book than that one, I'm almost more proud of it because I'm so passionate about embodiment. And I have a daily practice that I do, and I coach all men to have a daily practice.
And just to be clear, this is, by the way, the masculine framework we're breaking down, where the first step of the framework is respond versus react.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now the second step of this framework is.
Do you like how Tyshawn cleverly pushed me to go forward? Hurry up. Second part of the framework is provide structure, and which
is my favorite, by the way. This is my entire favorite.
That was my
favorite
part. Ladies need. That's what they want.
Why does that appeal to you the most? I'm just curious.
Well, because this is where I can typically be most lazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I can be most lazy. I'm gonna give you a good example. I had to catch myself in the middle of it. I'm dating a young lady, and she was looking at going through a process of moving. Right, so she's looking at the house buying process. So at first, now I have a background in real estate, so I'm pretty good with the market, know how to buy a process, knowing about house, whatever. And at first, she was coming to me just kind of randomly about the process with things she was doing, and she was taking action because she's action oriented. She was taking action about what she's going to do, and I was just kind of letting it happen. Now she kind of found a realtor. I didn't know anything about this realtor. She kind of did this. She kind of just finding things all around me, and I'm not really taking part of that process. And it was funny, while that process was happening, I was reading your book.
Uh-huh.
And I think I caught it early, because those types of things are very easy, because women will start taking action on things and start moving these projects on their own, especially like you said, if they're strong women, if they know what they want, they know how to go after it, but that's not really ideal for them. And I noticed when she was asking me these questions, she would have much rather me say, all right, hey, babe, sit down. Here's what we're going to do. Let's focus on these 3 zip codes. We're going to go townhomes only. We're going to look in this price range based on these things you just told me. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up this kind of day here, and we're going to go look at them all together.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been actually awesome.
Yeah.
So I caught it late, and I did step in and help. But just in general, there's a lot of moments that guys can miss. Another big moment I noticed guys miss in providing structure, for example, is when a woman is moving. I noticed that, like, that's a major, like, that's a very masculine moment in a woman's life, when she's like moving to somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
And like, you could literally lose an entire woman if you play that moment in her life wrong.
Moving that's a key.
It's a key moment in a woman's life.
Moment.
And if she doesn't see you take leadership or provide structure, and hey, babe, look, listen, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna find a moving company. I'm gonna call this. You pack all the damn boxes up, right? And on this day, we'll put everything in the truck. Now that she has a plan,
structure,
she feels so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that provide structure was so key.
Good. And I think your example illustrated she can do it for herself. She just doesn't want to have to always do it for herself. And I think that's a key distinction that we can bring this into the modern world. It's like, we're not saying women don't have masculine energy and don't use your masculine energy. No, like, of course you do. But if you can give her, and I think this is the way to put it, the gift of your masculine leadership, where she can go, oh, I don't have to do it all. I can turn some of this over to you. That's a gift. That is a gift. So element 2, provide structure, it's directionality, it's clarity. It actually starts with inner clarity. And I think that's the thing that a lot of guys skip, because that muscle of knowing what I think is right, what I need and want, has atrophied as we focus on everybody else. So that's element 2 of provide structure.
Okay.
Element 3 is create safety. And actually, I'll say one quick thing about provide structure.
And we're going to go back into these, by the way. So don't even worry. But go ahead. I want you to say it. I want you to say it for sure.
When we go back, let's talk about what does it look like for life leadership, emotional leadership, and sexual leadership.
Oh,
damn.
Let me take down some notes on that one.
Take down some notes on that one. We're going back into that. Don't worry.
Hold on. Run those back. We said life.
So there's life leadership, or you could call it logistical leadership. It's kind of like what Tyshawn was talking
the move
about.
in transition.
Emotional leadership, and sexual leadership.
This is good.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah. Usually on that last one, guys are like, that's when they
the sexual leadership.
Right. Whoa, give me more.
I need that one. Okay. And now this is the third step of the masculine framework the guys need. Yeah. Step 1, respond before react. 2, provide structure. And 3,
create safety. Yeah.
Create safety.
And so what we're talking about is physical, financial, and then when I talk about the most is emotional safety. And if you can provide those 3 things, she is going to relax. She is going to trust. When she's relaxed and when she's trusted, her nervous system comes down. And when her nervous system comes down, the world is possible. Things get more fun. They get more playful. They get more sexual. They get more loving. They get more open. Like all the stuff we want in a relationship, it is there for the taking when you create, emotional safety along with the other parts of the blueprint. So that's a really important one. I talk about emotional safety all the time.
I want to dive in deeper to that a little bit later too. But listen, ladies, y'all, please share this with every man you know.
Yes.
This is gold. Like, we need this. And me and Tyshawn, we have conversations like this all the time. So sometimes we got to run the book back, because you have to be consistently reminded how you should be performing, because women are relentless. When they catch a sense of weakness or a sense of, and some of them can be really tyrannical.
Oh yeah.
If it goes too crazy. So before we kind of get into tyrannical women and what drives them crazy,
I want to see what the chat's doing after you said tyrannical.
I want to what is it? I know you mentioned in the book about men living passively, which I think is part of the reason why I was in the position I was in 3 to 4 years ago. I was living passively. But from your words, what does living passively as a man really look like?
Well, Tyshawn's not going to like this, but I'm going to say his example is a good one. In that moment, he was passive. He's not a
Yeah.
passive man, but in that moment, he was passive about that. But so let's go underneath that. Like, why would we, not just Tyshawn, but all of us sometimes get like, I get it too sometimes. One could be you're unaware of these dynamics. You're unaware that your lack of leadership is painful to her and kills attraction. Remember, you and I were talking about attraction before we started. This is something that kills attraction. Other things kill trust. Like if you don't have emotion, if she doesn't feel emotionally safe, that kills trust. This kills attraction when you don't lead. And so guys just don't realize that. That's one. Two is they've got it's from their childhood. Like dad was oppressive, so you learn to do whatever the hell dad said, or mom, or there's something from their childhood where they're not aware of it, and so they've learned to just go along to get along. And a lot of guys think that it's like. It's what Dr. Glover wrote about.
That's the nice guy.
Yeah, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Nice guys pretend to have no needs. And so if you have no needs, you are not providing any direction. And that's one of the first things I do with these guys is we just start to build up that muscle of like, what do you want? And one of the exercises I give them, it's silly, but I'm like, for this entire week, when you get together with your coworkers to decide where you want to eat, don't say, I can go anywhere. Say, I want to go to sushi. And just kind of hold on to it like you're kind of an asshole, because we're not trying to turn them into assholes. We're trying to have them swing their pendulum a little bit on the other side, which is to develop some clarity about what they want and be able to just stand in that clarity. And then, well, I'll leave it at that and stand in that clarity. So those are some of the reasons why guys don't take leadership. I mean, there's a million more permutations, but those are some of the more obvious ones.
I like what you said about the needs. It reminds me of a situation. This was, a few years back. I was studying a pickup game, man. I was studying that thing, and I was on a date with a.
Ryan was going crazy.
I was going crazy. Yes. I mean, I was becoming flawless with it, and I started just really picking up these beautiful women. So I'm on a date. It's the first date. I got this gorgeous young lady in the car. She's got like her fur on. She's smelling good. She's got the sexy dress on, and we driving, and she, it was all good. The energy was great. I put on some Bad Bunny, right? And this song Bad Bunny had was in all Spanish. And I'm like jamming to the song, I'm having a good time. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm like, this is I'm having a good time. And she looks at me and she was like, you listen. She was like, do you know Spanish? And I was like, no, I don't know no Spanish. She was like, so you just listen to music you don't even know? And she kind of said it with like this attitude. You know what I did? I changed the song. I changed the song. Yeah. And I instantly, I knew something was different though after I changed the song, because she kind of like leaned over and kind of was just looking out the window. And I'm like, and I didn't know exactly what it was, but I just knew I did something wrong.
Failed the test.
Yeah, failed the test.
Right.
Yeah. And right, F on the test. So I know what it feels like, even from a minute perspective or your situation, to be very passive in what you need.
Yeah, I can't help but bring this up. It's slightly tangential, but what do you wish you would have done? Do you know? I have an opinion.
I wish I would have. I wish I would have.
Sit your ass back and listen to this goddamn Bad Bunny today.
No. I wish this is the thing.
Go oppressive. Got to go oppressive.
There you go.
No, you know what's crazy? Because earlier when I was speaking to her on the phone, I know that she hasn't really traveled anywhere. Like she ain't even been to Miami. Yeah. I wish I would have just joned her. Yeah. Like, girl, you ain't even been nowhere. What you talking about? What I'm listening to? Like a joke. Like.
Kept it light.
Kept it light. Like I would have just told a joke about how she don't got no culture, and how you gonna damn jam to this music because you know it's riding, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna teach you something with this song.
Exactly.
Learn some Spanish.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I love that you said that, because I was gonna bring up. There's many ways. I write them in, I forgot which chapter, but I have like 7 or 8 different options in a situation like that. One is, I was gonna say humor, which is what you correctly pointed out. When humor demolishes drama is something I always say. And sometimes they get dramatic with you, and we can dig into why they do that. But so humor demolishes drama. So humor is a great one. Curiosity is another one. I don't know if it fully fits the situation, but just this kind of type of situation. You can be like, oh, interesting. Is that offensive to you? Like, tell me more. And so it's just curiosity.
Right.
And you're not buying in, you're not acquiescing, you're not changing the channel. You're like, interesting. You're actually offended by this. Like for me, I actually think this is a virtue because but for you, it's, so it's all about curiosity. So those are definitely 2 go-to ways to handle when they come with that intensity that seems intractable at the time.
Fellas, I hope y'all heard that. Don't let the ladies change what you're listening to on the radio.
No, it's not. That's important to have a stance.
Yeah.
And to be able, because a lot of guys that's in that place, they don't even know they're doing it. It's like they're just passively on autopilot. And the woman senses that. Like she senses
that he's not present.
He's not present.
He's not attuned is the word I was going to use.
But there's also like a weakness there.
Oh, you're talking about when he changes the channel.
Yeah, like but of not being able to have that stance.
Yeah, to hold to your belief, your direction, your decision. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
But I realized later that that was just a small instance. But when it took me a year after that to finally understand what I was doing. But I just literally went back and I would think about all these very small instances.
Like, oh, why did I do
Man,
that?
it was so, I felt so bad.
Yeah.
Just so much opportunity to really express myself and just stand on what I was doing and what I like.
You just said it, Ryan. There's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity for men, even in these tough situations. Yeah. I would feel remiss if I didn't touch on the flip side. Let's say this wasn't, you played a Bad Bunny song, but you had the radio up on like 9. You're really just rocking it out. And she's over there starting to complain and she's reacting to the volume of it. And you don't just be like it, woman. there is an element that you want to, along with your clarity and your stick-to-itiveness, there's also attunement and kind of like knowing the way that your choices affect. And so I think the most effective man is he's in tune with his woman, even if it's a first date, and he can fold in what would be, what if she's got a red line about something, if she has a preference that you just know her so well that you already factor that in a little bit. That's when you're attuned to your woman.
That's true.
So it's not, which is very different. Let's not let anybody in the audience think that we're talking about like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it to please you. It's different. Attunement is way different. Attunement is I have my needs, but I also know you. And that's when a woman really starts to trust and appreciate you, is when you're attuned to her. And by the way, there's an element of this in sexual leadership.
Honestly,
attunement in the bedroom.
Let me tell you, that is so beautiful that you said that, because you do have to know when to stand on what you want, but also when to compromise just from being a great partner. Right. And another good example, because the funny thing is the young lady I'm dating, she does not like loud music at all. So if I decide to jam and rock out, that's exactly what she'll do. And I can easily be offended and be pissed because when you listen to good music and you're feeling really good, you're dancing, and somebody just comes in like a vibe kill, like turn that down. But at the end of the day, you got to understand, of course she doesn't like that, because a lot of the reasons she doesn't like that is a lot of the same reasons I love being around the woman, because she's hella peaceful. She doesn't make much noise. She likes silence.
Yeah, her nervous system. Yeah, exactly.
It's peace.
So knowing your woman's nervous system and like she's a peaceful person, so you don't do things that are jarring to her. I think that's the art for men. It's like, how do I be strong and be attuned to my woman at the same time? That's when that's when you have mastered the art. That's when you get a lot of dates.
Oh yeah,
that's a lot of second, third, and fourth dates.
Because no, that's true. That's true. Because it's just many levels to the game. Yeah. You got getting the phone number, getting the first date, getting to the second, third, and beyond. Then, of course, if you're in a long-term relationship, you got everything that comes with maintenance and managing a long-term situation. So, it is difficult and challenging being a man. I would definitely say that. Really is. And as a man, I want to get your perspective on what is it that women need?
I think we've already said it.
All of that.
I assume we're talking about in the relational space.
Yes.
Yeah. They need a man who, it's going to sound self-serving, but he lives the blueprint. Like, he's grounded. His nervous system doesn't get all jacked up and jack hers up. He has some clarity and direction. And he does the things to keep her emotionally safe.
Those 3 things is it right there.
Yeah, and that's the blueprint that we talked about already.
Yeah.
It's now there's other elements to it, and we could go on all night, but that's the basis of it in my worldview. Of course, you're getting my worldview.
So if a man has those things, okay, let's assume the man has those things. Is it possible that a woman could still show signs of disrespect to that man at some point in the relationship?
Oh yeah. And you know what you do? Walk away. If you come and you're open to her, like, there's always going to be little little points of friction.
Yeah.
And those come up, and you handle it in a respectful way. Maybe it's curiosity, maybe it's empathy, maybe it's humor, like you talked about. And you do that, and she just kind of stays in raging bitch mode. You know you don't want that. And I have a friend who's going through a divorce right now, and I fought for them for the longest time until I realized that the other person in the relationship was so wounded that she was always going to go to DEFCON 1. And I said, I've changed my mind, buddy. I think you need to walk away.
Wow.
And that's how you know. And I tell guys all the time, because guys are always asking me, should I stick in this relationship where they have a shitty relationship? And I say, if you bring the blueprint for, say, 6 months, if you really bring it, not half-assed it, but really bring it, and things aren't getting better, she's still hypercritical and disrespectful, then you need to start thinking about disengaging. And then I teach them how to have a mature conversation about that and express, like, I feel like I've really done my best to create connection with you. And I feel like there's something going on here that we can't unlatch. And I'm starting to pull back.
That's actually good. That's good feedback, because when a man is applying himself at his best, really trying, and it's not working, that's the only justifiable way to know that this is not working. Now let's go before that. Okay. A man not necessarily applying himself the best way, but he may not even know he's not applying himself the best way.
Doesn't. Yeah.
He doesn't, right?
Yeah.
What can a man see in his woman to know? What are those signs to know that he is not performing well?
Yeah. I have a whole list of them in the book, but she's irritable. She's critical. She's not interested in sex. And the fun has sort of been drained out. Like her ready laugh that maybe she had when you guys first met isn't there anymore. Like those are the signs that I see the most. And then it starts to really calcify into contempt. And then you feel that contempt. And if you guys have ever, what's that guy's name? Anyway, he talked about the 4 horse. Oh, John Gottman talks about the 4 horsemen, and one of them is contempt. And he says, if I observe contempt in my clients, which are couples, he's like 98% of the time they're done.
What's contempt for context?
Contempt is like, I don't even see you anymore. I have just painted you as bad person.
Oh,
so everything you do goes through this heavy filter of you're a bad person. And so you really don't see them anymore. You just you've painted them as an identity, as a callous person, or, whatever you are. And you just, nothing you can do she'll never see you again when she has the veil of contempt. It can actually go both ways. So I shouldn't say it's just the women, but it's usually more of that on the female side, because they wake up first. They wake up to the disconnection, and they wake up first to it. So
that reminds me of that song. Wow. Is that R. Kelly? When a woman's fed up?
Yeah.
that's what that song describes, right?
Yeah.
Contempt.
I mean, it's like it's
over.
It's almost a place of no return at that point.
Yeah. She's indifferent. Yeah. She's not really caring what you got going on. She just kind of, you just kind of there.
Yeah.
So here's the next thing I want to talk about, because I do want to go into the leadership aspect, because you got some really cool those elements of leadership that you spoke about. I want to get into that, but how would you even define, because now, a lot of guys feel like, there's like an attack on, masculine leadership. But I think you did a really good job drawing the line in the sand between, masculine leadership and misogyny. Like there's a difference. What would you say that the difference is, so we can have some clarity in that?
The old school misogyny is control. What I'm talking about is an invitation to follow your leadership. Like that's the simplest way. Now we can go into it, but that's the simplest way.
Old school misogyny is control.
It's about control. I'm supposed to be in charge, and so therefore do what I say, or listen, whatever. And I just teach you to offer your leadership as an invitation. She can choose whether she wants to follow it or not. If it's good and skillful, she probably will. And the analogy I always give is tango. So my woman dances. She's danced tango for about 20 years. And I've been trying for the last few years. I'm not that good, but I try. And tango is a strong lead follow dance. And with tango, there's a structure to the embrace, and you don't move her body. Like if she's in your embrace, you don't move her where you want to go and push her. You actually open up space, and she moves through that space. And that's kind of what we're talking about. You signal what the lead is, and sometimes your follows, and sometimes she doesn't on the dance floor. And if she doesn't, then you recalibrate and give another signal of leadership. And I think real life is like that as well. This is the easiest way to put it. It's not like, yeah, we're going to Italy this year because I said so. It's kind of like, babe, I actually looked up 3 different vacations that we could do. And there's Italy, Slovenia, and Croatia. And, here's the top 5 things that you can do in each of those. Here's kind of what plane tickets would cost us. I actually prefer Slovenia this year, but I'm open to all 3. What do you think? So this is just a silly example of bringing leadership, but you're not telling her what to do. That's not what this is about. And nobody listening to us tonight should think that. Let's not twist this into control. It's about offering your leadership as an invitation. She might say, well, I love Slovenia. Let's go. Great, good instinct. Or she might say, well, I've always wanted to go to Italy. Baby, can we please go to Italy? And then you have a conversation. Or she might be like, I'm not going to any of those places. I don't like that part of the globe, or whatever.
Right.
She's like, I want to go to Singapore. So she might follow your lead, you might not, but you're strong enough within yourself not to get all bunched up about that and butthurt about it. And I think that's where a lot of guys, I hear from so many guys in long-term relationships. It's like, well, I tried to lead and she didn't follow. So I was like, screw it. I'm never going to do that again.
I'm never going to lead again.
Well, one of these guys is kind of in my extended family, and he and his wife didn't have sex for 20 years.
Oh,
what?
Yes.
God.
Damn.
Yes. 20 years, the last 20 years of their time together until she died. They didn't have sex because he was like, well, I tried.
Wait, she died?
Well, she did. I mean, naturally, she was in her 70s.
Oh my God. Left this earth not having sex.
But from like 45 to whatever she was, they didn't have sex. And because he was like, well, I tried and she just rejected me, so I'm never trying that again. So we get hurt when our leadership doesn't land, and that's a key skill to be more agile.
You gotta bounce back from that.
Yeah, totally.
So okay,
Wow.
wow, that is crazy. That's sad.
The chat's going nuts on that one.
Yeah, I look at the chat. I seen a comment that said he gonna fix all black men.
Oh man! Hey, listen. By the way, we are about 45 minutes in now, so we are gonna let Facebook go. Okay, they stayed in for a while. We're gonna let Facebook go. And we're also gonna ask that, guys, please. We got close to 800 people in here. Can we please just get about 500 likes on the video? We need these likes to continue to expand and push this video. So while you're enjoying this, I just ask that right now, just take a break, close the chat, hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Please hit it. I don't see y'all hitting it. Just hit it real quick so we can go about keeping this thing growing. All right. But that's about it.
And I'm curious, when did you want to take some call-ins? Because I wanted to talk a bit about that disrespect.
No, let's go into it. Let's go in.
Okay.
After we finish this conversation, we'll get some call-ins in.
Okay, good. So when I was mentioning about that situation with me and the young lady in the car, of course, I tell people about that. And I usually, depending on kind of who I'm speaking to, I might get some young ladies that might be like, oh, that was so wrong of her. Like, why would she do that? And it could be any situation. And what I try to detail is that all women do these things.
Yeah.
They all do these things, whether consciously or subconsciously.
Yeah.
So what do you, because I'm sure you coach both men and women, right?
Mostly men.
Mostly men.
Yeah, I have occasional women I'll accept, but it's rare.
Okay. So, well, my question is, because if you had any feedback on that for women who don't think that they are capable of this level of disrespect.
Yeah. I say the same thing over and over to women. When you're upset about something, which is natural, the answer is not don't be upset. The answer is give us the cleanest expression of your heart without all the blaming and shaming smuggled in. Like, I bet she had a tone that was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah. So she smuggled in a shaming is what she smuggled in.
Exactly. Like, you're an idiot for listening to something you don't know the language.
Yeah. So the advice I would give to all women, if you want to elicit a connected response from your man, you don't have to water down your message or swallow your dissatisfaction about the situation. It's your right to have that, but give the cleanest expression of your heart. And and for her, I don't know, for this woman in the car, it could be like, wow, I feel myself having a judgment about you, because you're like culturally appropriating. I don't know what her point was, but that was it. That's a super clean expression of your heart. Not many people are capable of that, but some are. The women that have done their work can do that. And I can say for my own relationship, my woman has really traveled that path. We wouldn't have made it if she hadn't. Now, we also wouldn't have made it if I hadn't had my journey as well, but
Right.
we wouldn't have made it if she hadn't. And she's starting to learn to give the expression of the pain. And then she leaves so much space for me to want to be responsive because I'm not having a reaction of being blamed and shamed. And that's the biggest thing that I think shuts men down is we get blamed and shamed. And that's when we get defensive or we blow it off or, whatever. So that's the advice that I would give to women.
I want to kind of go into those, while we're still on the topic of leadership too, I wanted to talk about those forms of leadership. I think that was really important because you broke it down into different forms, which I don't think most people hear. You broke it down into emotional, logistical, and sexual leadership.
Yeah.
So starting with logistical leadership, I think you said that kind of piggybacks off what I said prior about being able to logistically help with things that are actually going on operationally in the life.
Yeah, it's like house maintenance, which probably your example falls into, even though you don't have a house together, but house maintenance or whatever needs to happen in the house, recreational, like where are we going for summer vacation with the kids, that kind of thing. Even educational in some ways, like how are we going to improve ourselves, spiritually or, cognitively.
So women want you to provide structure around how you got.
Love it, baby. It's like, baby, I saw this. I mean, this might not be our thing, but it's like I saw these tickets to the museum downtown, and it's this exhibit on blah blah blah, and it looked really cool. And I bought us tickets, and we're gonna go.
Yeah.
I saw this jazz musician that I know that you like. He's coming to town. I bought us tickets.
Yeah.
Like even that simple thing. I just did that for one of the bands that my woman and I like. We're gonna go right after the New Year, and I just bought him as a Christmas present for her. And so that's logistical leadership. It's just the things of life that you can step up, and whether it be more functional like moving or more fun and recreational like the concert tickets. Anytime you can just step up and provide some direction, you're gonna improve the relationship because it allows her just to relax once in a while, relax into your leadership, and when she starts to see you as that leader, that's when respect and trust and all those things start to grow, and some of the maladaptive behaviors start to recede. So that makes sense. Logistical or life leadership.
Logistical or life leadership. And I want to go through these, and this is going to be, once the ladies understand it, this is going to be our first poll, because I want to know which one they feel guys are struggling with the most.
I'm gonna get that
because
ready.
by the way, these three aspects of leadership are the three aspects of leadership that men need to be displaying in relationships, just to bring clarity, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have a whole, in my online course that piggybacks on the book, I have a whole module on these three, giving examples of how to bring these three types of leadership.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we talk about, the next one was emotional leadership. What does emotional leadership look like?
Yeah. Emotional leadership is, you have a flare up in the relationship, and most guys just sit back and wait for it to blow over and hope that she'll forget about it. So if you let her down in a certain why is that funny?
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
It's like a storm going on, and we're just gonna like let it pass. We're like, all right, God, matter of fact, let me go for a drink.
Yeah, we hope that it'll pass. And then when she stops talking about it, and maybe the next day we're like, oh, she forgot about it. No. In fact, if it's an emotional wound that has happened, it could be there 10 or 20 years later, literally, because when it's emotional, it gets frozen in the psyche until it's addressed. And so that's one of the biggest dynamics around emotional leadership. So emotional leadership would be what I call going back into the burning building, which means, hey, baby, I know that we had that flare up yesterday. We talked about it a little bit, and I wanted to check in with you, how you were doing around it. Does it still feel alive for you? And maybe there's some more repair to do, or there's more work to do on that together. Most guys would hope that she's forgotten about it. We all know that. Well, we don't all know, but we know that she won't forget about it because there's an emotional wound there. So to go back into the burning building is actually the quickest way to make that thing go away, because she's going to pull that out in a year or two. She's going to be like, and another thing was that thing you did 2 years ago. She's going to start piling on. You don't want those things back there because they kind of lodge in her psyche and make her just slightly more cranky. You want to go back into the burning building and address those emotional kinks.
Walk into the burning building.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's the last place I want to go. And that's where you need to go.
You really got to be prepared to have some tough conversations.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're only as tough as you allow them to be. If you come into your most mature self and can handle your woman's upset. Like that's one of the biggest things we have to develop as guys. Be able to handle the intensity of your woman's upset and then stand in the fire and show some leadership instead of waiting for her to kind of bring it up and fix things so that the relationship gets back to where it needs to be. Oh my God, what if you could do that? What if you could go back in the burning building? What if you're the guy that says, you know, that thing last night, baby, I just want to make sure you're totally clean on it. That then excavates that, clears that out, and her psyche is just that much cleaner. And she's that much more open, that much less critical because of that little thing that you went back and excavated. And I take guys through a whole process to excavate a bunch of these things, because that's usually what's happened is there's been a bunch of emotional hiccups and wounds over the years that the guy didn't address. He hoped they blow over, but she just stores every one of them. And then they get to a certain point, and then the relationship is shit at that point. And I take them through a process to go excavate some of those old wounds. So that's emotional leadership.
Wow. So he's literally got to go back and address things that he probably ran away from. So can you, by the way, just so we have something, do you have a physical example of what that might look like? Of like an actual spat that may have happened in a relationship that a guy had to go back and, you know, because I want to get some real world application to get some clarity to this.
Yeah. I give one from my own life. Oh man.
That's why we got you on the show.
That's why we got you here, man.
Yeah.
I want to hit the emotional. That this one is gonna hit. This one's gonna hit.
No judging. It's a safe space.
Yeah. There was a time. It's my woman, so I'm being sensitive to things between the two of us. But there was a time where she just freaking lost it on me. Lost it. I'm not sure I've maybe twice before I've seen her that angry. But she was just so angry at me, and was letting me have it. And she came back. It didn't last that long. She came back, apologized. Next day, she apologized very profusely. She apologized multiple times to me over like a month.
Okay.
But I realized that inside of me, I was actually a little still pissed because she said she was sorry, but she actually didn't address the impact of that on me and kind of empathize with the full impact of that on me. So I actually felt, even though I was like, yeah, okay, thanks for saying, you're sorry and apologizing. It's cool, baby. I actually realized it wasn't cool. And I kind of wanted the whole thing to just blow over and never have to talk about it again. But I actually committed, and I sent her a text to initiate another conversation. I was like, you know what, baby, I'm kind of pissed. And I feel like your apology didn't really reach me, and I want to talk to you about it. So this is one it's a little bit of a flipped example because it's more her, but I didn't want to bring it back up. I wanted to be done with it and just move on. But I realized I was holding on to a little resentment. So I wasn't as open and as loving. And so I brought it up again. And so that was it probably wasn't the most dangerous burning house I've ever run back into, but that's one of the more examples I can think of.
But I get it. And you have to be open to expressing your emotion in that. And that's probably one of the toughest things about the emotional leadership is you have to be able to feel, to empathize, to express in that area. And, for the most part, guys will typically tend to run away from that part.
Absolutely.
And then these unseen wounds can build.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even to just make it as simple as possible, it's like, if there's an emotional kink, which we all get those, we've all been in long-term relationships. Their emotional kinks come up. Even though we don't want to know it, we kind of know it. Are you the guy that sits back and hopes it blows over, or are you the guy that actually initiates the repair?
Yeah,
it's that simple, and that's what emotional leadership is. And this is a superpower. This is because women are always the ones having to bring these things back up with us and drag our asses along to get us to actually pay attention to the connection. So if you're actually a man that can do that proactively, superpower.
And I want now the last one here, because we went over logistical leadership, we went over emotional leadership, and the last one men have to display is sexual leadership.
Yeah.
All right, talk about sexual leadership, man.
Oh my gosh. This is another one that a lot of the wives of dudes that I coach, like, I just want him to like take charge in the bedroom. Why can't he take charge in the bedroom? And these guys are so tentative. And so for me, sexual leadership It's about leading the action from moment to moment, and it's about being attuned to her so that you do it in a way that creates. How do I say it? You do it in a way that works for her, that creates pleasure for her, that doesn't hit the hot buttons for her sexually, and so it's leading the action from moment to moment. And so what are we talking about here? It's changing positions. I mean, that's the most simple. That's just one
example.
Yeah, it's like you're the one that initiates the changing of position. You'd be amazed at how many guys are just like, they're just sort of
wow.
and they don't actually change the position. It also includes the art of command, and this is something I work with guys in my workshops on. Is the art of command.
Turn your ass around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what it is. And how do you verbal command is one way to do that. And so, like, come here, down on your knees,
so you heard the tone of that?
Hey, he turned it up.
Did y'all hear the tone just now, ladies?
It up.
He went GS Youngblood on that.
He did. That was different.
Hey.
We almost got into the dark side.
Hey,
for a second.
facts. Hey, some lady on the other side of the screen just went down on her knees. I ain't gonna lie.
And so that's the verbal command.
Yeah, verbal command. And I want to say one thing about verbal command. So it can be get on your knees and something that's really dark, or it could be just come here, my love. So it can be loving, it can be dark. You can, and a guy that can really run both of the, to each end of that spectrum, again, master the art of this. So that's verbal command. Physical control, and what that means is changing positions, or it could be physical constraint. So you might approach your woman and gently take her, let's see, that'd be your left wrist, and just pin her arm behind her back. That's a form of physical control, and which is restraint. So you can either move her body in a certain way physically, or restrain her body in a certain way. There is erotic talk or dirty talk, which is kind of stimulating her mind. And so I teach guys, I have a whole breakdown of how to talk dirty, and there's different categories that you can speak in each of these categories, and within each category you can go mild, medium, and spicy. So I have these graphs I give these guys.
Hold on, the talk dirty framework.
Yeah.
Wait, that wasn't in the book.
No, that's in the workshop.
That's the appendix. That's the extra supplemental material.
Yeah, I one of these days I'm going to write a book.
So generally that'll be nice, but generally all women like to be physically commanded in the bedroom, is what you're saying.
I think we'll never use the word all because people get all fired up.
Right.
But do they want you to first? Have you created trust and safety? That's the first thing. And consent. Let's just throw in consent to kind of
right. Of course, always.
Right.
But consent, but trust and safety. If you've built trust and safety, not only in the moment, but also chronically with her, then a lot of women are way more open to your command.
GS,
it's received well.
Did I get this from you in terms of physical command? Like if you want to pin a woman against the wall, you would push her against the wall very slowly and then apply pressure.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was wondering where I got that. Okay, I got that from you. That works, by the way.
Damn.
I don't think I shared that with Tyshawn.
Yeah.
No, wait, what was this?
It's like
just push her against the wall?
It's just like a physical command. You start and help me with the model. You start gradual, like slowly, and then you apply pressure.
Yeah. So like this is her body, and this is your hand, and it's gentle. And it's that signal. It's like the tango signal where I signal and then she reads the signal and knows what to do.
Right.
If you just put gentle pressure, like you said, and then wait for her to start to receive the signal, you'll feel it because she'll start to yield. Now, if she starts to get away from the microphone, but if she starts to tip back, you know that she is not hearing the signal because she hasn't moved her feet. And so then you listen. That's the thing. You listen with your hand and you have eye contact with her, and then when she starts to move backwards, and then you apply a little bit more pressure, and never ever. Let me say this. If you're going to do it abruptly, you better know what the hell you're doing, which includes cradling her head, because you don't want her to hit her head. But generally, I recommend going with the slow push, not the pushing her against the wall. No, but you can work up to that.
The slow push works, and I like how you said read the body.
Yeah.
And if she's receiving it.
Yeah, you're listening. I think that's the word I used. You're listening through your hand to her. And that's attunement, man. Like take that same principle, apply that to all your sexuality. That's attuning to her body. That's when you become a master in the bedroom. It's not just having the biggest dick in the world or being the most skilled lover. It's can you attune to her, I think. And when men do that, then like it's a different level.
Sexual leadership, guys. So sexual leadership, y'all heard it.
Listen,
It was emotional, logistical, and sexual leadership. And Ryan, that poll.
I dropped that poll, but I think I got some ladies that's probably changing their vote right now.
What's so what we got? What's the poll now?
So it's been up for about 10 minutes. We at over 200 votes in here.
Get
and
your
right
votes
now,
in.
yeah, I want to leave it up just for a bit because now they really understand the full scope of the three: the life logistical, the sexual, and the emotional. So I want to leave the poll.
Oh, is it
up
close?
this
Is it going to change much?
Well,
Probably
nah,
not.
it's not going to
It's
change.
not gonna
I'm
change.
going to close it. It's not going to change. Yeah, this is not going to change.
What's that? What was the results on this joint?
77%
Oh, wow.
of women say emotional leadership.
Wow.
I'm not surprised.
There it goes. There's
Here's-
some data
here's-
right there.
But if you there's like a sequencing here because they need the emotional connection before they can fully open sexually. Like that actually tells us a lot.
So that's like order
That
of
tells us a lot.
operations.
Yes, exactly. I love that phrase.
So the emotions first.
Well, they have to feel emotionally safe and trusting before they truly are open to your sexuality. And once you do, game on.
That's when
Generally
that's when you
game
like
on.
unlock. You unlock a part of her that probably another man wasn't able to access. Like she opens up and does things with you that she's never done before.
I could not put that better myself. Yes.
I love that.
Be the man that unlocks her in the way you said. Be the man that is uniquely attractive to her because you do this.
You know, one of the most beautiful
Man.
things, and I realized that after I read your book, because the young lady I'm dating now, she says this all the time, over and over, even randomly in the day, without even me saying anything. She was like, she'll just say, "I feel so safe with you. I just feel so safe here."
Yeah.
All variations of that same statement, and in your book, I realized just how important that is for a woman to feel safe. And is there any specific way that a man can know that his woman does not feel safe? Like, what does that look like if his woman doesn't feel safe in particular?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one will be her saying, "I don't feel safe with you," which a lot of my clients' wives and girlfriends do.
They will say that.
But
They
see,
will say that.
that's
Yeah.
that's at that point where she's overtly speaking
Yeah.
that she doesn't feel safe. I think that's like the
That's the later stage.
Yeah.
And fair point. So let's roll it back. And I think the answer is the same as my answer to one of Ryan's questions. It's just she gets a little less trusting. She gets a little more irritable. She gets a little more critical, nitpicking you. She gets a little less interested in sex. Her laugh is a little less fulsome. It's all those little things. You see her kind of contracting in and poking out at you. And usually, this is what I always say, guys: hear the pain, not the blame. So when she's starting to not feel safe and she's starting to be more critical of you and all these things, that's your signal that she's in pain in some way. And generally it's because there's not an emotional connection, or it could be you weren't reliable, or that you're not leading. Like she's in pain because of that. And it comes out as these behaviors that you don't like, but behind that is pain. So if you're a man who's skillful enough to really understand why she's in pain, then you can start to address it at that level, which is a way better way to address it than at the behavior level. If you want to know why she's in pain, read the book. I think that's what it is. Because the blueprint's a diagnostic. Okay, am I grounded and non-reactive? Yes or no? Am I bringing direction to this relationship and leadership? Yes or no? Am I making her feel physically, financially, and emotionally safe? Yes or no, and to what degree? So use it as a diagnostic, guys. If your woman is cranky at you all the time and doesn't want to have sex with you, use the blueprint as a diagnostic and figure out what's going on, and you'll probably find some gaps.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because I think that the concept of safety is just so important because there's very small things that guys can do that's very important. Like some of the basic things that we know of is like just make sure she's walking on the right side of the sidewalk.
Yeah, little
Yeah.
things,
Right? Just
yeah.
small things.
Yeah.
She got on the seatbelt.
Right. Make sure you're the closest to the door.
Yeah.
When
And you get double points for that because one, she feels safer, and
yes.
two, she feels you present and she feels you on it. You're not like in la la land thinking about work.
Or on your phone.
Yeah,
Or
on
just
your
not
phone.
paying attention.
She knows you're paying attention because primally she knows that if a mugger jumps out, and I'm kind of going to that sort of physical safety, that you're going to be paying attention. That's really what it is. It's so primal. So
there's these different aspects. A woman is like, for her to feel safe, you really have to be performing in so many different aspects of the relationship to create that feeling of safety. Because there's like that physical level of safety that women feel, like that security. There's that like emotional safety that you can create in being able to, like you say, walk into the burning building and have those conversations and so on and so forth. And I really think a lot of what us just performing in our masculine leadership in general, like you describe, further creates that. But I really want to drive that home for the guys, like that creation of safety in your relationship is so important, because again, that's when those walls, those defense mechanisms just drop, and you really do see just this almost childlike version of her at that point where she feels safe. Yeah. It's like her flowiest, most, I guess the highest vibration of her is at that point.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's the little kitten in her. You've heard me use that phrase.
Yes.
That's kind of like how I'd like to describe it. So you're spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on, Tyshawn. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're gonna ask a question, Ryan.
No, I wanna take some calls because the chat is just going crazy. Yeah, the chat.
The ladies if you're ready for the initiation hotline,
and I know when
I want you to put a yes in the chat right now if you're ready to take some calls.
Yes, and a lot of people are asking about the book, The Masculine in the Relationship.
Yes.
How to inspire the trust, love, and devotion of a strong woman.
It's trust lust, bro.
Trust lust.
Yeah.
I made that second part. Trust lust and devotion.
Yes, this is GS Youngblood in here with us.
And it's in the library, guys. It's in the library. It's the Amazon library. So if you check the description, you can see GS's IG profile as well as the link to the library.
Please, questions, ladies, questions. I want questions around the conversation we have now. I want any lady who's having problems around feeling safe, around the masculine leadership in her relationship right now or past relationships, a question you have, I want you to bring it here. And I think we actually have someone on the line here right now. So welcome to Hardly Initiated Live. Give me your age, your location, and your question.
Hi. Hi, my name is Nikki. I'm 37 and I'm in Indiana.
What's up, Nikki?
Nikki, what's poppin'?
This is crazy. I love your show, guys. I love how you've grown. I just continue much more success to you guys. Like this is like such an honor to kind of see how you guys are growing, and I'm just excited for everything to come.
Nikki, we love and appreciate that. Thank you.
So my question is, I'll try to be a bit more articulate about it. I come from a family where it's mostly women, and a lot of them were like single mothers. So we were taught at a very young age to be independent and provide for ourselves. So I hear you guys speaking a lot about the things that men need to do, but I feel like there's sometimes not the same grace for women when we're in those relationship spaces and we need to learn, for lack of a better term, how not to be so masculine or how we can be more feminine. Because I hear you guys saying things in terms of, the blueprint, if a woman's becoming more critical or she's becoming more or irritable, like what's the reverse of that for a woman when it comes to paying attention to her man?
Man, GS, they're asking for the feminine in a relationship. They asking for the inverse of it. Have you come up with a formula for that just yet?
No, I haven't.
Listen,
I got enough on my hands.
What would you say to that? Well, because she's pretty much asking, I feel like, I might be maybe a little bit hyper masculine in my relationship and I'm not playing my feminine role. Yeah. What would you say just to a woman that feels like she's in that space? Like where can she probably start to get some repair in that place?
Let's make all our assumptions that Nikki is a woman who has a masculine, but she wants to start to relax more into her feminine.
Absolutely.
One of the most basic things that I've seen taught to women, because I have observed other people teaching women in some of the work that I've done, is allow there to be a vacuum of leadership that you don't try to fill. So You know, if it's a date, for instance, we'll just use that example because it's an easy one. And he's being indecisive, and he's like, well, what do you want to do?
Mhm.
You could easily fill that. You could probably just turn the dial on your own masculine energy and say, well, let's go here. Or what you could say is, I would actually like you to take the lead on that, and then just rest and see what he does. I think there is a vacuum when nobody takes the lead. There's a vacuum there, and
Mhm.
then the impulse for a lot of people is to fill it. Now, we wish in this model of masculine feminine that the guy would always jump in. But
Mhm.
in today's world, women have very strongly developed masculine energies, as they should. But if they want to start to exercise it and create more polarity in their relationship, then they need to allow that vacuum to exist, and politely, not shame. We talked about Ryan. We talked about smuggling and shame.
Right.
She's not like saying it derisively or condescendingly. She's just from her heart. It's like, I would actually like you to handle that.
No,
And
good
so that's
tip, because it's very easy for that to turn into how about you come up with something
Yeah.
yourself?
loser. Yeah.
Right. Very easy
Yeah.
Or
for it to turn to that kind
you,
of statement.
You never choose the dates. Be something like they'll say.
Yep. Again, so you really didn't come up with anything? Like, very easy. But look, this one here is really for the guys, and GS has specialized in putting the frameworks together for the men, but I think that was a phenomenal technique for you. And Nikki, listen, I think we're working on bringing somebody up here just for you to get some healing in that area. So keep a lookout for that episode. But I appreciate your question. Okay.
No, appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Nikki.
Yes.
Thanks, Nikki.
Man, that was a good one. The lady
That
said,
was
"Look, I
good.
want some feminine frameworks."
Yeah.
And don't worry, we got it coming for you, ladies. We got it coming. So I think we got somebody else on here now. So welcome to Hardly Initiated Live. Give me your age, location, as well as your question.
Hello, my name is Emily, and I am 39 in Sacramento. And I wanted to know, sorry, I'm kind of flustered right now, but I wanted to know,
Hold on.
I'm
Wait. You calling up here flustered? I'm curious. If you can be brief and brilliant, don't give me a long explanation. But why are you flustered?
speaking in front of a lot of people
Oh wow.
Okay. Stage fright.
and being accurate in what I want to say and make sure I'm accurate.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Ask your question.
So I am talking to a guy right now, and basically, I want to know. I have tested him in my relation, and we don't have a relationship, but I have tested him in like the courtship. So what I'm wondering is, he came on strong, and then I started testing because I really liked him. But what do you do after the fact of the testing where he is, his masculinity has gone down?
So he's failing the test pretty much.
Yes.
And I'm curious, just for context, and so the audience can get an idea. What kind of test? Like, what do you consider testing?
Good question.
Some have been legitimate. Some have been, I must say, petty.
Give us
one of them
examples.
is like being intimate, where I don't want to be intimate yet. I'd rather be intimate at least after being in a committed relationship. I want to be courted, so I want to go out in public. I don't want to go just to someone's house. So those are more of like the legitimate. I guess the more petty, and maybe it's not, but the more what I think is petty is instead of asking in a text message, "What are you doing?" he puts the abbreviation for the letters for each word.
Oh, so
Meaning, I feel like that's a little bit lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like when I met him online, he appeared as if he was a really good texter, a really good written communicator.
So how did you respond? I'm very curious. How did you respond when he typed WYD?
I have done multiple things, so I have kind of like mirrored that, or I have also mentioned that is something that I don't appreciate. So
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
So I wanted to make sure I understand. You're dating this brother, and you feel like he's just not really performing well in this courtship. And you're saying his masculinity is dropping, and you want to know what you should do now in this situation. Is that correct?
everything's correct except for we're not actually dating right now. We're kind of on like a pause, I guess you'd say, because there's very minimal effort from him.
What makes you interested in this guy?
I guess the first part of the time we were talking.
Mm.
How long did that last?
I'd say less than 6 months.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, the hardest thing you can do is make a relationship work where somebody's not applying effort, especially where the man who is the pursuer is not really applying effort. But what's your thoughts on a man showing a lack of effort in the relationship?
Mhm.
GS, what's your thoughts on that one?
I think people show their colors.
Mm.
You know, they show their true self. And as soon as the honeymoon period was off, he took his foot off the gas. I think the thing that is it Emily?
Yeah.
Yes.
If I was in Emily's shoes, I would not be afraid to speak my longings. I mean, your longings are coming through loud and clear, Emily, on in what you shared with us. Like, you're longing for a man who does want to celebrate you, who does want to bring you out and show you off. You're longing for a man who is a good communicator, and you have the right to want that, and you should expect that in your man, and you should not expect less. And don't get one-itis where you get sort of focused on this guy, and don't let a guy rest on his laurels. Let him show you who he is in the moment, and then this next moment, and this next moment. And I think he's doing that. He's giving the signs of somebody that's lazy. So you can either A, walk away, or B, speak your longings to him. See what he does. If he's a man that's going to be responsive over the long term to you, that's what we all want, a lover who's responsive to our pain.
Mhm.
And if he shows himself indifferent to your speaking your longing, then that's probably not the guy for you, I would guess. And I'll say one caveat is you have to speak your longings from your heart, not blaming, not shaming, not insulting, not demanding. It's a longing from your heart. That sets a guy up to really be in his best position to respond appropriately. So that's what comes up for me.
Good feedback.
Yeah.
Emily, look, thank you so much for calling in. Okay.
Thank you. Have a
Awesome.
blessed day.
You too. Sounds like Emily gave ample amount of opportunity
Mhm.
to be a man,
Mhm.
and then he hitting her with the what you doing text, the WYD.
Yeah.
Just sounds like weakness.
And also, I mean, the reality of the situation, another key thing that we might have missed is she said she started holding out on sex. And I don't know if they had sex before and she stopped, or he never had sex. But a guy who, if his goal was to have sex, you will definitely see a lack of effort at the point where he sees sex is not going to be happening here.
If that was his
And
only
it's-
intent.
If that was his only intent.
Great
So
point.
that's another thing that might also take place. And we're going to go ahead and take another one here. Hardly Initiated Live. Y'all are calling in. I'm hoping I hear one of my brothers today, but let's see. Welcome to Hardly Initiated Live. Give me your age, location, and your question.
Hi, my name is Tiffany, and I am 41, and I am in Scottsdale, Georgia.
Scottsdale. What's up?
Lord have mercy. Okay. So I was in a relationship for 10 years with my child's father, and I would try and this is probably where I went wrong at, but I would try to please him, talk to him every day, ask him how his day was, or, just to see if we were good. And it was like every time I would ask, questions about what's going on with him, it was like he would just clam up. And the minute I would catch him on doing something wrong and let him know, it was as if he wasn't trying to hear it. But when it came to when I did something wrong, it was like he was really quick to go in. And I would just be like, well, I said, I'm sorry.
Mm.
What can I do to fix it? So it'll be like 1 minute, okay, we're good. And then the next minute, we're not. And now I'm at a point in my life where it's okay, if I be in a relationship with the next guy, is he really going to want to hear what I have to say when he's done wrong? Or do I have to, like, to get his attention, like, really lash out? So it's like, I'm just like kind of confused as to how I should approach him or whoever,
Hold on, wait.
whatever man that
What
comes.
exactly?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. No, I just want to know. So, what exactly I got the story. What's your question on that one?
My question is, when it comes to like difficult conversations and without trying to get him upset or it gets to a point where we just stop talking altogether, how should I come at him without trying to sound like I'm a nag or anything like that?
Yeah. Tell me tell me your name again.
My name is Tiffany.
Tiffany, that's right. So Tiffany, what's happening
hmm
inside of you kind of on the more on the chronic side because of his shutdown? Are you what's happening to your energetics?
It's pretty much, I have to doubt everything, pretty much,
Yeah, I got that. Do
because,
you find yourself shutting
go
down,
ahead,
Tiffany?
completely. And I do not like confrontation. I don't like it. I try to avoid it as best as I can.
Yeah,
And when I feel like there's confrontation coming my way,
yeah,
I'll just be like, you know what? Let me just walk off
yeah,
because I don't like to argue.
yeah. And you find your heart close to him?
Yes.
And has sexuality been less interesting to you?
Well, I'm not with him anymore, but I'm just saying when I
Okay.
was
Yeah,
with him,
I got it. Okay. When you were with
I
him,
shut
did
down.
sexuality start to diminish?
No, the sex was great. It's just when it comes to,
There goes my
oh,
theory.
sorry. When it comes
Yeah,
to like what you were saying earlier about emotional connection,
yeah,
that's where he lacked.
yeah. There wasn't a lot
And
of
it was,
emotional connection between the two of you. Yeah,
and whenever he did something wrong, no accountability whatsoever.
yeah, yeah,
And that's where I was always being a nag. I'm a nag, or you always bringing this up, and I'm like, I'm telling you how I feel. You can tell me all day long how you feel,
yeah.
but the minute I say something, it's a problem. And it was like that for 10 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now you
yeah.
with a
And
new guy
unfortunately,
now?
no, I'm not with anybody now. I'm not with anybody now. But it's like,
She's
if
wondering
I
how to
was
be on
with,
that next guy.
Got you.
Yeah. Okay, Tiffany.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So here's the hit I get. I'd love to see what Tyshawn and Ryan have to say, but I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself with some of the advice. But
No, that's fine.
this takes two to
Um,
tango. He on his side, he's got to be able to take in your complaint on valid stuff. On your side,
hmm
you've got to be able to deliver your complaint with a lot of heart. And I think that's where both sides can go
hmm
sideways a little bit is we get so, one side can get so frustrated that when they think they're just sharing their pain and they're sharing it with like a hand grenade. And
hmm
the feminine can often get into that mode. That's usually more on the feminine side. You think you're sharing your pain, but it's coming with a hand grenade. So
hmm
what you can do, and you can only do your part. So don't take too much on, Tiffany, in your next relationship, but just continue to offer your longing and your pain in the most heart open way that you can. And consider
hmm
the man your ally, your ally,
Okay.
not somebody that needs to be clubbed over the head with your anger. I'm not saying you did that. I'm speaking more generally for the feminine.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
And don't get involved with a man that can't take your truth, and I always tell a
Okay.
lot of women actually read the book, and I say this book is a great diagnostic for you to find a man. Is this man I've just met and want to be involved with? Does he bring leadership? Does he make me feel emotionally safe? Is he more responsive rather than reactive? Use it as a diagnostic. So start to look for that quality in a man. And
hmm
I think you'll be more successful in your next relationship.
Tiffany, thank you so much for calling up and asking that question here. So we're gonna go ahead
hmm
and let you go ahead and enjoy your day. Hope you take that into your next relationship. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Listen,
Appreciate you,
if
Tiffany.
we can figure this out, ladies, listen, I know y'all want to call in. I want to try to get one of my brothers in on the line. So, ladies, hold off real quick. Is there a brother that can call in tonight. They called in yesterday. It's funny when the brothers call in, it's like they call in that whole show. They come in twos, right?
They do, at
But
least.
when the brothers don't call in, they not calling in. But I want to get a brother in here tonight. Delano, let me know we got somebody. We got somebody over here now. Welcome to Harley Initiated Live. Give me your age, location, and your name.
I'm Jasmine. I'm 35.
Jasmine! Jasmine! You're taking my brother from me, Jazz.
What's up, Jasmine?
I'm sorry, I'm not a brother.
All right, look, we're gonna take Jazz, but I need a brother calling in next. Ladies, this is my last lady I'm taking. I need my brothers to call in. But Jazz, what's up, Jazz? What's your question?
So my question was on a man that I was previously dating, and my issue with him was he just wouldn't take the initiative for a lot of different things. Like when it came to doing dates and things like that, he would say he took the stance that he was being considerate because he knows that I'm pretty busy. I don't have a lot of time. So he's like, well, I know you don't have time, blah, blah, blah. And he would like just not do it. So I told him, well, just let me know where to go, where to meet you, and I'll make the time. And it just wouldn't happen. And so that took place with a lot of different things. And it's just, to me, I just looked at him like he's not a leader. And so I couldn't see him leading me in the future. And I'm wondering if he's thinking that he's being considerate and I'm getting annoyed. Is that something that can, like, how does that type of thing rectify itself? Or do I wait around if I kind of feel like I identify that he's not a leader in that way and in a couple of different other ways?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jasmine, all you can do is invite him into that leadership role. And one way that I often recommend for the women, it's like, honey, it's a turn on when you take the lead. Like, it just makes me feel so sexy. Like we men are not hard to figure out sometimes. Like if it relates to your turn on, we're like all about it. And so just, I'll do anything to get that. So, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but it's also kind of true that if you express your pleasure, and I think this is the more generic way to say it, if you express the pleasure that you feel when he leads, that can be a pretty good motivator. I don't know if it would break through to that guy. But it's a sexy way to do that with him. Now you could get more explicit and just say, you could go to the negative. You could say, I find it a turnoff when you're not taking charge. Or you could say, anything in that realm of expressing your pleasure. So I think that's the advice I'd have for you is express the pleasure that you feel when he leads and really make sure he gets it, like express the profoundness of that pleasure that you experience.
Okay, I've cut him off, but I'll take that advice for the next one.
Yeah,
absolutely. Look, well, you have a blessed day. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
I think that was some good games. I remember I was dating this young lady, and she had all this stuff from IKEA to put together. And in my mind, I'm like,
you said she had all this stuff for what?
From like IKEA.
IKEA.
Like it was like a bunch of stuff. She had moved into her new spot, helped her move in. She had all this stuff. She had all the IKEA pieces, and she was asking me about help. So I was just thinking I'm smart. I'm like, look, I got a dude. He can do this. He pay him $10 an hour. He gonna come hook all this stuff up, put everything together. And she ended up asking me about it early in the day. I was actually at her house, and I had forgot to hit the dude up. So I'm like, damn, now I got to put together all this little stuff. So I'm in there trying to hurry up and put the stuff together before she come home. She ends up coming home a little early. And when she seen me putting it together, she just like stood by the little double doors. And she just looked at me. She was just smiling. And I'm like, what's up with you? She's like, oh, nothing,
Yeah.
And then later she was like, that was the most attractive thing I ever seen you do.
Yeah.
And it made me feel great, but also bad at the same time because I realized that I was taking the really easy way out. Or I realized that her wanting me to put the things together was an opportunity for me to show my strength rather than an opportunity for me to show how efficient and how much resources I got. Because I can pay for it.
Yeah.
So it really made me feel good, but like I said, bad at the same time. But what I took from that is, wow, how many other opportunities are there to show my woman that I could perform in this way?
Yeah.
Is it me cooking the meal for the night? Is it me, changing all the light bulbs? Something very simple. Is it me making sure that her spare in her car is good. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of opportunities do I have to be more masculine?
Ryan, you could not be more spot on. It brings up 2 points. One is you use the magic word. It's an opportunity. If we could get that guys to realize, don't think of this as a burden, this leadership. Think of it as an opportunity, like you said. So that's one. The other is a point that that needs to be made before the end of the night. What you said was not about like, how can I? What do I need to do to, like that pleaser energy? You weren't coming from that. A lot of guys can, but that's not where you were. It is. Let's see. How do I put this? It's not about doing things for your woman in a pleaser way. It's the energy. It's not what you do. It's the energy that you do it from. So if you try to find these ways to show leadership, but it's really more about just doing stuff for her, that's a different energy than, wow, what are some powerful opportunities that I have to open my woman? And that comes from a very different energy. It's not an energy of like, what do I do to not lose her? It's an energy of like, how do I take this relationship to the next level? How do I open my woman? Like, be the man that opens this woman. So I really love where you're coming from on that.
And they in here going crazy about your voice, GS.
Yeah. First off, you like got this very zen energy.
Right.
And then it's talking about he look like Robin Thicke.
I get that.
As a matter of fact, we actually got somebody here, right? So look, welcome to Hardly Initiated Live. I'm hoping it's my brother. Give me your age and your location.
I am 41.
Let's go.
My name is Andre Hatchett. I am a brother.
Andre Hatchett, what's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? Great show tonight. I have a part question, part comment.
Okay.
With the ladies who are dating men who are bad leaders, lazy, whichever verbiage you want to use, I'm hearing one clear indication. And us three, I know you guys only personally are on the traditional side. We take pride, especially in the first few days, in showing a woman a good time. It's top priority or up there priority in our lives at that moment. Are these ladies dating the guys they want or the guys that pick them? And the reason I'm bringing that up is because they wouldn't be saying this stuff if they dated the guys that picked them. So that's my statement. I want to know your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Dre.
Wait, what's the question?
So he's saying, are ladies dating the guys that pick them, that actually want them?
Okay.
Or are they dating the guys that they pick, like that they personally want, not the ones that want them as much? And
my reasoning for it is because and my reason is because the lack of leadership. Like we like that. We dig that. When we're into you, Sam, I dated a woman across the country, right? Who I pursued. There's no guessing what I'm into a chick. Now, it doesn't always work out. She ain't always into me. I might not always be into her after I meet her. But there's no clear lack of interest that I'm pursuing you for a relationship. And I want to know, do you think a lot of women are rocking with guys who just aren't that into them, and they're trying to make the guy into them? I'll hang up now. Guys.
Me personally,
you,
I think it's I think it's just not men that are bringing both to the table. I really think it's either men who are this alpha, they only concerned about what they got going on, their mission, and whatever's in front of that has to move out the way. Or is men who are head over heels, so much so for these women that they will compromise all of their values and boundaries just to satisfy that woman. I don't think as many men that are kind of incorporating aspects of both is the only thing. So I do think that because the thing about it is, because I get what Andre is saying, and it is a lot of eligible men out there, but I just don't think it would be so many women having the exact same complaints about men if it was just that many men who not the most handsome, not getting all the money, not had the most status, but if it was just that many men who are practicing this blueprint of masculine leadership, I just don't think it's that many.
Yeah, when you practice the blueprint, my contention is that you will start punching above your weight class. You will move into a higher level of woman that you attract because you can evoke attraction on their side through this way of being. And I think that's, I mean, it's little, I didn't understand everything Andre said, but I think part of what he was talking about, he's like, I'm clear that I'm pursuing this woman. And guys, your desire for a woman, your claim, your intention are all energies that you can display that create attraction on her side. A woman loves a guy that's got strong intention. He may not even be the best looking guy, but you can attract a higher class of women by living the blueprint.
Yeah.
Living the blueprint.
And we know Dre, and he's a very successful guy, you know, and I believe it when he says, hey, if I like a woman, I'm gonna pursue her.
Yeah,
I just don't think
like that energy.
I don't think it's just that many men like that. That's of that, you know, same mindset.
And pursuing, and it's not just about pursuing as well, like, because the thing about this book, I think this book is so important because this book is not like the front end of the game. This book is not attraction. This book is not pursuit. This book is like that back end, you know, like how do you have a woman happy 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years in a relationship? It's like really the core of a man. And it's not, I mean, first of all, a lot of this stuff, you don't even get a chance to work on until you're in the game. Like this stuff here, like you really, this is like on the job training to be a great leader with a woman, because you don't even know you can handle a storm of a woman until you've been in one over and over and over and over again. You don't even know if you can be an emotional leader until you can actually walk back into that burning building multiple times again. And sexual leadership is different on the first night y'all have sex and on the 5th or 6th year that you guys are having sex. You know, so this is like a continuous game of getting sharp and getting better at these things.
And also keeping your relationship alive and juicy for the long term.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been with my woman over 10 years and it's still on point. I mean, it's really still a very juicy relationship because we play with these dynamics, and you know, she's been training with David Data longer than I have.
Wow.
So you can keep the relationship exciting in these using these ways of being.
Wow. Hey, look, if we don't have anybody else, did you want to go ahead and take another one, or you want to close it out, go ahead and get back to it?
No, we can take one more. If you
want to take, we got somebody else on here. All right, well, we'll take one more. We got welcome to Hardly Initiated Live. Give me your age, your location, and your question.
My name is Joshua. I'm 20 and I'm based in New York.
20 years old.
Wow, young man.
Yo, Josh, actually, look, our producer, shout out to Delano. Everybody tell Delano happy birthday. He just turned 20 yesterday as well. Yeah. So I always tell him he's early in the game. So you being 20 years old on here, shout out to you, Josh.
Thank you. Congratulations on your birthday, man. Thanks.
No doubt. What's your question, brother?
So I'm looking for some advice. I have been talking to this girl for over a year now, and I'm Christian and I'm also a virgin. And I communicated this to her from the start of our relationship. And so we've been talking for over a year, and not so long ago, she just told me that she wasn't a virgin. And apparently she didn't mention it because at the time, you know, she wasn't thinking we were going to be a thing. But then when she thought about it, now it was hard for her to bring it up. And now she's brought it up and she's been honest with me. So my question is that a red flag? Is that a reason for me to not proceed with this relationship? Or what would you guys advise?
I do want to get clarity. Did she mention before that she was a virgin? Then she changed the story up? Or
yeah. Oh. Yeah. So in the beginning, I asked if it was important to me, and she said she was.
Wow.
Now, I'm critical. I would qualify that person as a liar, just to be real with you, because my thing is she didn't know you, and already, you know, she's being dishonest with you. It's like, how can we maintain any level of honesty after we, you know, advance the relationship? Now, I would imagine she's about the same age as you. So I do have, you know, I do empathize with her, because I'm sure she's considering a lot of things, even why she probably had sex in the first place, you know, and now to have met you, which probably to her seems unlikely, kind of depending on her circle. So I'm sure she didn't want to, you know, paint herself in a bad light. And she probably was just very concerned about what you actually thought about her.
Hold on, I'm curious though. Hold on, wait. Before Ryan give his answer, what made her come clean?
I think from the beginning, we kind of had a rocky start, but the further we got into it and the more time, I kind of placed an emphasis on honesty and communication. And I think kind of the guilt caught up with her, and she just had to come clean, is what the story she said.
Is it important to you that the lady you stay with is a virgin? Is that important to you?
Not really. It actually, no, it's not. But the honesty aspect and the fact that, all this time I've gone without knowing that. Even times where I've like mentioned, like we talk about these topics and it didn't come up when it was there. I don't know if it was fear from her part, but the dishonesty is really what the problem is for me.
Understood. Honestly, you don't even have to say anything else, Josh. I'm with you on that. I want to know what GS thinks on this one here.
Yeah, because I'm not rocking
because
with
I think it's based on just a man's personal flexibility and standard to whether or not that will sit well with their spirit. But what's your general thoughts on that?
She gets points for having brought it back up. Remember about running back into the burning building. She did do that, and
a year later,
a year later, and multiple conversations about it.
Yeah. The only thing that comes up is the fact that she's 20. Ryan already caught this. And so is it dishonesty or is it immaturity?
Right.
And, so that's where it gets a little that's where it's kind of on that razor's edge, and it could go either way. And the fact that she owned up to it eventually, it's not like she got caught because he saw a text message that finally showed him what she did. I'm probably 49 or 51% saying, hey, use this as a growth, as a springboard for growth of let it be an example of, and create conversations between the two of you around how important honesty is to you, and maybe both learn from it and share with her your pain and the importance of it to you, and as a man that you have a boundary. And so you might use this to grow from it. You might use this as an opportunity to now set a boundary. I'm still only 51%. I get what you guys are saying, but if I look for the positive growth, and the reason I'm looking for that is because these guys are 20 years old.
Right?
Come on, man. Stupid shit.
Yeah, it ain't lasting no way.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
That's what I'm thinking.
Kidding.
I'm thinking, my man. He's 20. He a virgin. He's mature. He's learning from
he's getting game.
That's what I'm saying. It's not. Listen, I just think it's an ample opportunity for you to find your woman that's not a liar.
Hey,
that's
listen,
what I think.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The next question you need to ask her is, since you're not a virgin, what's your body count? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's just more dishonesty on your way.
I'm adding to the immaturity of the whole situation. But it's interesting that happened, because again, I think when you start asking men about how they will respond to these moral issues in a relationship, it starts getting very subjective. One man will stay if his lady cheats. Another man will not tolerate cheating. Yeah. One man will leave if his lady flirts with another guy. That the flirting will keep him up at night. Another man, he might find it sexy, right? So the thing about it is, like, when it comes to stuff like that, that's something that you really have to sit on yourself, and you really have to make sure that you as a man can have peace with that situation, and make sure that you are not going to carry any resentment into the future, or act different, ice cold, or shut down in any way because of that situation when you lied to me when we first started the relationship, and you bringing this up 5 years from now because you let it move forward, and you never really was truly okay with that.
You got to be willing to completely trust. Because the fact is, if she was dishonest about that, because of how you may have judged her, it's probably some other things that she was also dishonest about as well. So, if you cool with that, then
again, that's something that you internally need to have peace with, and you internally need to answer for yourself. We at this table can't answer that for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with that.
Yo, but Josh, listen, man, I appreciate you tuning in. And I want you to actually stay tuning in. And I'm invested in your joint. info@hardlyinitiated.com. Let me know what you end up doing with this situation, okay?
Wow.
No problem. I'll do that. I appreciate it.
Much love, brother.
Wow.
Man, that's interesting.
20-year-old too. I can only imagine when them conversations would come up. Who knows? Josh was acting like he probably was being critical, and she probably was getting further and further like away from being honest. Because as a young man, especially he's a virgin too.
She feels pressured.
Yeah. Oh man, I can only imagine.
Yeah, I'm a virgin.
Yep.
No, I haven't. No, you're a virgin, right? Yes, and I'm a virgin. Yeah, it's tricky.
It's very tricky.
I like what you both said, by the way. I like your conviction. And if they were 40, I would be like, yeah, exactly what Ryan said. But I love this. It's really for you to decide, because I'm a person that would be more on the side. Probably you are too, I'm guessing. Like, thanks, but no thanks. If we were 40 years old and she's cheating on me, like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I've also seen people come back, older couples. And when I say older, I don't mean 60s, but like, mature couples like in their 40s come back from an affair. So it really is about what can you stand for? And if you're tolerant, that was a really good point. Like if 5 years later you're pulling that one out because you've been resenting it the whole time, that's
on you now at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's on you now at that point. And that goes back to knowing what we talked about earlier, knowing your standards as a man, what you stand for, standing on it, making a decision, and not compromising how you feel because you want to make her happy. You care about what everybody else thinks, and you living in a world of chaos every day, and your mind is plagued because you made a decision that you can't live with.
Yeah.
So
this is the key that I tell guys: be unafraid to lose her. If for whatever reason you've brought the blueprint and things are just not right in this relationship, be unafraid to lose her. Oh, because you're gonna operate in a totally different way. You're gonna hold boundaries. You're gonna speak your truth. You're gonna know your truth way more if you're unafraid to lose her. And I think that's one of the biggest things that guys can do.
I like that.
Thank you guys for tuning into the initiation hotline. So what I want to do,
I know when the hotline
plays. So we can remove that number off the screen here,
and we got some super chats came in too.
We got some super chats. Let's read them.
So we a little bit behind on super chats tonight, guys. But shout out to VJ. So proud of us, VJ. We love you.
Love you, VJ.
Always kicking it off with the super chat, VJ. We are in your debt. Shout out to Jasmine Brown. She says, I had a conversation with a man who believes there should be no conflict in the relationship if he provides and comes home. She says, I believe in healthy conflict that if handled correctly can cause growth. GS, I think I already know the answer what you're going to say. Is it possible to have a healthy relationship without conflict?
No.
Yeah, it's not even a possible thing.
No.
Yeah.
One word answer.
Easy. Shout out to Sha, by the way. Shout out to Sha. Listen, Sha, of course, we look out for you. Sha says, I started reading The Masculine in the Relationship a few days ago. It's crazy to see the author as a guest.
Yes,
Shy, it's not crazy. That's typical. That's how we do it.
Hardly initiated, baby.
Yeah. Shout out to Shy. Shout out to Wifey, a man that journeys life with clear intentionality is a blessing to many. And I'm gonna skip a couple real quick, and I'm gonna drop down to Fancy. Fancy says, "What can women put into practice that will eventually influence her partner to go back into that burning building?"
Can she do anything?
Read the question again.
Okay. Shout out to Fancy, by the way. What can women put into practice that will influence her partner to go back into that burning building?
And just for context, the burning building is an analogy of a man going back into an emotional wound or being an emotional leader with actually initiating a conversation that may have
to heal a little kink in the connection.
To heal a kink in the connection.
Yeah. Don't excoriate him when there's blowups between the two of you. Some women get really intense, and the more that you smuggle blame and shame and any kind of condescension, the more you're trying to punish him through your words, is going to make him not want to talk about anything and hope it blows over. So it doesn't mean you need to be nice all the time. That's not what we're talking about. You can show your anger, but when it's blaming and shaming and condescending and trying to punish and punishing, that's when he's going to become more and more reluctant to bring things up with you.
That's a good question. We got another super chat in there?
Yeah, of course. We got another one. Shout out to Lydia. She says, you guys always deliver. Lydia basically says she in the UK. Any guy she want to invite is already asleep right now. But shout out to Rashida. This is a good question. Shout out to Rashida Collins. She says, How do women gift a self-help book like this without offending a man or making him feel emasculated?
Oh, that's a good question.
I get this all the time.
I can imagine.
All the time.
How can I get my man to be more like you?
Right, right. Even sending one of our videos to your man can even be
emasculation.
kind of tricky. First of all, our thumbnails are
Please
a little
don't,
tricky for the
please
fellas.
do not send that to your man. Please don't.
So what would you say to that?
Yeah, I would, if I'm the woman, I read it, I highlight the hell out of it, and I just set it on the coffee table or, whatever around the house and don't say a word about it. Or you say something like, wow, I got this new book. All my girlfriends have read it and they love it. And then you just read it and you never ask him to read it. Just tell him how much you love it and how much it, like the things that it describes turn you on. And trust me, the guy will figure it out.
I'm gonna be honest. If I saw my woman having this book open and it says the masculine in the relationship, let me tell you, I'm reading the damn book. She might not know. She gonna put it down. I'm reading that book.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think a lot of women are in that situation where they want their man to take more initiative in improving the relationship.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be honest, it usually is the women initiating therapy.
Yep.
Hey babe, I think we should do this. They're usually initiating the ideas and the repair. So how does in general, like a woman inspire her man to improve the relationship if they feel like it's in that stagnant place?
And what you're talking about is emotional leadership. That's exactly what we're talking about.
I thought that was logistical. That's more emotional.
Yeah. Like saying, hey, baby, I for the guy to say, hey, baby, I think that we probably need some couples therapy.
Okay.
Like he's initiating something for the emotional realm.
Yeah.
He's noticing a kink in the connection and he's saying, what can I do to help us heal this? Now, it doesn't mean he has to do it all. It just means he's got to take some initiative. And so and all the women can, this is a tough one. Most guys will not do this, but they can say, also express their pleasure. Like, baby, the woman can say, baby, it just like when you brought that thing up the other day, like I just felt so much trust for you. And when your woman says that to you, do you not feel motivated to want to do more of that? When she says that, when you do this, I trust you more. It's a beautiful way to motivate a man. I think it goes back to the book. And if you hand that book to somebody and say, you need to read this, basically what they're saying is you're not masculine enough.
Exactly.
Versus, I love this book. Put it on the coffee table and see what happens. Very different.
That's true. That is true. And because that even the approach of handing him that book, that whole action is masculine in itself. Read this.
Yeah.
Good point.
It's like you're meeting masculine with masculine, which is gonna have him fight. Instantly want to fight back.
Oh, he's gonna be very upset by that.
So you do have to kind of bait your man.
Yeah, you have to be skillful.
It is, and ladies, that's just the reality. It's a man. So like, it is a way that you do have to, and because some women can get frustrated.
Sure.
When you can describe that I don't want to play this game and he needs to, but ladies, that's just what it is.
Not being effective. You can evoke certain behaviors in your partner, both men and women. We can evoke. So be skillful. It's not manipulative. It's skillful. And I'm glad you brought that up. It's important.
Manipulative.
Yeah.
It's skillful.
Yeah. Skillfully evoking.
Yes.
Let me ask you, GS, like what are we missing, in terms of this conversation? Because I want to make sure we cover every corner of this conversation as possible.
Yeah. The people can't wait. I don't want to leave meat on the bone. We got you all the way here in town from where again?
San Francisco.
From San Francisco.
Yeah.
We got to make sure they get the game here.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure because I know you had some things in mind that you wanted to make sure that the people did walk away from. So
yeah, of course, I can't think of anything with both you guys looking at me right now. But what? How about this? I did have something to talk about that I think is very important. We just skipped over. So it's the responding versus the reacting. The first thing I actually wanted to talk about too was for the ladies, because I wanted to have a poll. We already had a poll up. Guys that are dealing with this level of anxiety, right? Where women don't feel calm in their presence, right? So I want to ask you here, because how exactly do I want to ask this question?
that issue that guys have, I want you to kind of go back into that, because that anxiety that men typically face, how does that affect how they actually deal with their women? Like, what does that look like for their women?
I'm so glad you asked that, because it is important. It's very foundational. So, all right, how am I going to explain this? We all have things that scare us. And we all get anxiety that arises. And usually that anxiety comes from our childhood wounds. You and I talked about this, I think, a little earlier. It comes from a lot from our childhood wounds. And I want to say this, guys, we all have childhood wounds. A lot of guys are like, don't give me that childhood wound shit. I don't have any of those. And it's like, no, you do. You just don't know it. And you don't necessarily need to go to therapy and figure those out, but just know that you've got them. And know that in your wounds happened when you were a child, and a child is on the wrong end of a very big power differential. So you felt powerless in that. Well, because it was something traumatic, it got frozen in you. It'll be frozen in there your entire life until you excavate it. So it persists into adulthood. And so you get certain stimuli which kind of trigger the wounds. And we don't need even to go in why or how, just know that you trigger your wounds. And you just subconsciously still feel that kind of that power differential a little bit. And what happens is when you feel helpless, your system is flooded with anxiety. And when when you have anxiety, it's uncomfortable. And you're going to do everything in your power to stop that discomfort. And I'll give you an example. Your woman's all fired up. She comes at you. She's pissed about something. And it's like, that's intense for a lot of guys. It makes anxiety arise in a lot of guys. Present company included. I mean, included, I mean. And so it's our nervous system starts to do this, and it's uncomfortable. And so we want to stop it. So how do we stop it? We get defensive, which means you try to talk her out of feeling how she feels. So she's upset and you're like, no, wait a minute, baby. You don't understand. And so you're operating at this informational level to try to talk her out of her emotional expression. And that's what defensiveness is. Yeah. She has an emotional expression and you come with information hoping to diffuse her emotional expression. Well, that's like speaking Greek and English to each other. And then just speaking it louder when they don't understand. Yeah. And so we try to explain more and more and try to talk her out of feeling how she's feeling. And that's the defensiveness is one example of the non-masculine behaviors we exhibit when anxiety arises. And that's the dynamic I'm trying to. So you go stony, you explain, you defend, you deny, you avoid. Those are all ways to make it stop. Because if it's like, I'm either going to stop her from expressing this and feeling this way because it makes me uncomfortable, or I'm going to go stony so I can't feel anything, or I'm going to leave the conversation so I don't have to deal with this. All those things make it stop. Well,
you know what? I want to add this to what you're saying too, because one of my favorite things about your book was how you gave like relational and just real world examples of how those things can affect you. And one of the best ones I thought you gave, what I thought was super dope, was how there can be a man crossing the street, right?
Oh yeah.
And if a man, and guys, you might listen, even the ladies, if you've seen this, and ladies can sense this kind of energy.
God, I thought I seen Delano doing something like that one time.
If you can, if a guy is crossing the street and a car, he might be right at it was a stoplight, and he has a crosswalk, and he has the right of way, and a car hits at the horn, like honks at him. A confident man that's not dealing with high anxiety will look at the guy, give him a head nod, or even just give him a glaring stare, like, what the hell are you doing? Turn back around and continue walking, because he knows he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Whereas a guy who's dealing with high anxiety might just jump, start quickly apologizing, sorry, and then all of a sudden quickly walking across the street when he knows this is what he actually is supposed to be doing. And that is just wait and see.
Great example.
It might be hard for a guy to see himself in an argument having anxiety because there's so many other emotions that might distract that. But that's a clear and evident way to see that you anxious as hell, bro. And trust me, that's not sexy. Because we have moments like that around our women and we might not even realize it. Even if, like, I don't know, like even small things like your phone might start ringing and you just, and you just might start fumbling around and just start losing your cool. And ladies notice that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to actually put that as like as the beginning framework to respond
Mm-hmm.
and not to react, I thought that was genius. And I
Mhm.
wanted to ask the ladies, how many of the ladies can visibly see that their man is anxious? That's the poll I wanted to ask the ladies. How many ladies see that their men are visibly
Mhm.
anxious
Mhm.
or suffering from anxiety?
Is it
However you
just
wanna
like
ask
in
that.
general, or
I think in general it's fine, because I think the ladies get the idea well enough to be able to know. And I think that's something, and guys, just in general, we're all dealing with anxiety, because I deal with anxious. Let me tell you, it is that the anxiety in ladies,
Mm.
especially in the dating space,
Mhm.
is immense.
Mm.
It's incredible.
Mhm.
So when you brought that to like about the guys, I instantly saw how that could be an extremely unattractive trait,
Oh yeah.
because the number one thing you look for in a leader is poise,
Mhm.
which is the opposite of anxiety.
Yep.
And I'm
Yeah.
thinking about all the leaders I had. I might
Yeah.
want to follow no damn anxious leader, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
well, I'm trying to get that poll right, because I mean, I think most people just generally say yes. If we just ask them, have you seen your man in an anxious situation or anxious response to something?
You know what? So, well, maybe have they ever left their man due to him having anxiety in his due to his levels of anxiety? Has that ever caused them to leave the relationship, if any?
Mhm.
Because I can, just in general, I think it's important that we do acknowledge that, because I saw that as a very profound part of the framework, which some of you gave a lot of solutions to that, which
Mhm.
can you go in a guy who's in that space, what are some of the solutions for that kind of brother as well? Like, where did
When
he need
he's
to start?
anxious?
Yes.
It all starts way before the moment. And it starts with the thing that I say over, and I say this to guys nonstop. The number one thing you can do to build your masculine core and ground your nervous system is embodiment practice. And you and I talked about this before Ryan showed up. You do these things called embodiment practices. I wrote a whole book on it. I have an online course that goes with it. And it's for guys who don't have any idea what that is. Just think it's in the realm of meditation, but it's more body based rather than just sitting and trying to escape from your thoughts. But you do these embodiment exercises. You bring more of your awareness down into the physicality of your body, and you're less trapped in your ruminating, frightened mind that has a lot of compensatory strategies like defensiveness and things like that. So I think it starts well before the moment. You've got to go through the process of adopting a daily embodiment practice. That's one. Two is you read chapter 14 of the book and look at all the different ways that I talk about how to handle your fired up woman. And humor, curiosity, empathy, boundary. Those are all some examples of how you can. There are alternatives to your anxious sort of defensiveness or stony escape. So those are some of the alternatives that I try to teach guys, and you can find that in the book and in the other book and then in the online courses.
Man,
I
that's
like-
good stuff.
Yes, I like this one. Anissa Johnson, shout out to Anissa. She sent over a chat. She says, "Can we talk about responsibilities, finances, both in and out of being in relationships?" So I'm gonna take that to financial safety,
Mm-hmm.
because now a lot of households is two income earners.
Mm-hmm.
So both people out
Yeah.
the house working, bringing home the bacon, so to
Yeah.
speak. So if that's the case, where in some situations even the woman is making more money than the man, how can a man still provide a level of financial safety or security,
Mhm.
even though his woman might be either a breadwinner as well, or
Yeah.
even making more money in some situations?
Yeah, this is a complex one. I will say, I'm going to answer something you didn't quite ask, but then I'll get
Okay.
back to what you did ask. When your woman makes more money than you, I get that question a lot because it's more common, right?
Yeah.
Oh, with couples, I mean, with the guys that you coach,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Believe it or not. And the answer I always give, if your woman makes more than you, it's the same as if she's taller than you, by the way. You've got to be even bigger energetically. You've got to have a bigger energy. You've got to have more direction. You've got to create more safety for her to balance unfortunately, the effect that her making more money or being taller than you creates on the I don't know if you want to call it the power dynamic, but it is kind of a power dynamic.
Wow.
So if you're this height and she's this height, or you make this and she makes this, you better bring it in other ways.
And I had a big D energy.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what okay.
You're being
That is
funny,
all
but it's
making
kind of
sense.
true. It's
That's
kinda
okay.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to bring it. So just be aware that it's not a lost cause, but if you start to collapse and don't bring it, it's going to be game over eventually. That imbalance will wear on her. Now, that's not exactly what you asked, but I did want to make that comment.
No, that makes sense.
Relevant.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Relevant.
And it's, financial safety is never about wealth, being wealthy. You don't have to be. There's dudes, blue collar dudes that are of modest means that can still bring financial safety. It's just about doing the basics. It's like you take it seriously that there's, at least one person, maybe if there's kids, there's more. They're relying on you. And as a mature man, you don't do anything to F that up. And so that means you apply yourself at your job. You don't screw around. You get the training you need to advance, and you don't make speculative investments. That's another one that I've seen where guys piss away stuff at shiny objects they were chasing around investments. And so those are some of the things that come up for me. I have one little anecdote. I had a guy that I did some men's work with. He was a peer of mine way back when. And he used to be a web designer and made his money, but he really wanted to be a filmmaker and a coach. And so he started to really put all his attention on that. And at some point, his wife was like, dude, when are you going to get it together? When are you going to make me feel safe? And he really didn't want to. And it took him about 6 months in the container we were in, of the guys giving him this feedback. Like, you gotta take care of the basics before you can pursue your passion. That might not be true for everybody, but in a lot of cases that needs to be true. And so he finally turned it around and then put his passion projects on the side, which is what he should have done to begin with. So you've got to just make sure that the bottom's not dropping out and that you are a producer, even if she's also earning, as much as you. The last thing I'll say about the provider role, don't become too identified with it, in that you're like, well, I'm bringing home $250 a year. Like, what more do you need from me? I work my ass off for this family. I hear that so much. I work my ass off for this family. So, and then the subtext is, so why do you expect anything else from me? And it's like, well, no, there's other parts to relationships. So it's not enough just to be a provider. And I would encourage guys not to over-identify with the provider role.
That makes a lot of sense.
So is it ever a situation where the woman just might generally be a better leader?
Yes.
In the relationship?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, it's never absolute. I mean, it's not like he sucks at everything kind of thing. Yeah. I think a more nuanced question to ask is, what do you do when she is better at you than something?
Yes.
So here's the thing. My woman is so much better than me at picking out places for us to stay when we travel. Like, I get on Airbnb and I'm like, this place looks great. And then we get there and she's like, this place sucks. And she's so much better at that than me. So what I'll do is I'll create a container in which she can lead. And so I'll say, baby, I made the flight arrangements for us, but you are so much better at choosing the Airbnb. Can you choose that? And you sort of ask her, can you lead on this one thing that I'm asking you to? And so you can create a container within the larger context of your leadership that she can lead. In the kitchen, my woman is like, she knows what to do, and I'm just a dumbass in the kitchen. So I just like, tell me what to do, baby. And she gives me stuff to chop, and I do that, and I listen to her because that's her leadership realm. And if I fight that in any way, excuse me, if I fight that in any way, it just makes me look weak. So I try to give on the things that she's better at, and then bring my leadership in ways that I'm better at. And that's how I handle situations like that.
I like that.
And I can say my woman's got a lot of masculine energy when she needs to. So she'll step up if I'm not, that's for sure.
So see, that's super dope, because I think that's something that men have to understand. Cause it's like you're always in management. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're never all the way off a project, right? Cause like if your woman is better at it, you don't just say F it. It's 100% her responsibility. You need to be overseeing, probably like disseminating some expectations here, making sure you guys are on the same page. Yeah. And even if she takes, is doing majority of the legwork there, you're making sure we all understand what's going on and what's expected, and, providing any, tutelage if need be.
It's kind of like, are you setting up these roles consciously, or are you abdicating and it's happening unconsciously? That's what I hear when I hear you say that. It's like, let's get on the same page about what each person is doing, rather than I'll just kick back and she's going to jump in and take care of it because I didn't. Conscious versus unconscious.
And thus you have one of the that's why that second framework hit so hard for me about you must create structure, because that really goes back into that, because women are very talented and dynamic, and bro, she can do a lot, and she might do some things better than you, but that does not mean that you are not I was talking to Ryan about that. We said something about, I forgot what it was specifically, but we was like, bro, I don't care if your chick is Danica Patrick.
She never driving the car.
She ain't driving the car. Right? Like,
I wonder where that was going.
Right.
I don't care. You're right.
Right.
But
she could be a professional race car driver.
She could be a professional race car driver, and you still better be driving that car. And the thing about it is, it's like a lot of times as guys, we can do that. We can say, yo, she's always doing this. She's way better here. And you just, whether it's you get discouraged or you get entitled to her taking over, you just relinquish it. And all of a sudden she's pissed at you.
There's a price to be paid for relinquishing all the shit to her. Yeah.
Yes.
Even if she's better at it, or if she, because a lot of times what'll happen is,
at first,
that's what I was about to say. She might like literally doing it all the time and take the initiative and be happy and spunky about it, and come back and kick your ass the fact that she did this over time because you did not take initiative. That's a trap. Watch out for that, fellas.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you hear guys say like happy wife, happy life, is typically an indication of something going on a little bit funky under there.
Yeah, total. It's abdication. It often is. Yeah, or referring to her as the boss, and it's tongue in cheek, but it usually indicates a darker underbelly of it and something more. Oh man, more abdication is going on underneath.
Ooh, let's see that poll. Did the poll come through now? I think we got 145 votes on that joint.
Yeah, it's about half and half. I'm gonna close it out at 145. Have you ever left a man due to him having high anxiety?
Wow.
Yeah, half and half.
Wow. Wait, am I wrong at 42%? Is that what it was?
42%, yes.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons to leave somebody. So that one picking up 42%, that really
that is
volumes.
high.
Yeah.
That is very, very high. We got a couple super chats, man. Y'all send your super chats in, because GS is not going to be in here forever. All right, we got to get this man home eventually. So y'all go ahead and please, also guys, can we get to 750 likes? Okay, we've been teetering right at 900 people. Well, let's get us to 750 likes in here. Please smash the like button to everybody new and the people in here. I don't care if you're watching a replay or you're in here live. Hit that like button right now for us, please.
Absolutely. Shout out to Lisa Lattimore. Shout out to Just Being Me. Shout out to Grizzly Films and Erica Jones for all joining the channel membership. And shout out to BU Fitness Inc. She says, hi, my name is Christian. I'm married and have been with my husband for 17 years and married for 9 years. We've hit a dead end where we argue about everything with no resolve. I've tried talking to him, begged for counseling. He refuses. Yes, when you get a man who clearly knows that there's a serious issue in his relationship, right? Because I'm sure he's feeling the exact same way she's feeling. And the man specifically is not interested in expert assistance. What can a woman do at that point?
Leave.
Wow.
I'm not saying that's the only one, but for a guy that she's saying over the years, 17 years.
A long time.
Yeah, she wasn't saying it the whole time, but probably many years. We need help. I need you to enter this process with me and join me to fix this, because I don't want to grow old fighting, and he's like, no. Honestly, that's a man that deserves to be left. I mean, I assume there's not other factors here that make
right. We're just solely exactly what the information she's
That's
giving
a man
us.
that deserves to be left, and I'll tell you why. Not because I would wish that on anybody, but because that's what it takes to wake up. And I will tell you, Ryan, that's what it took for me to wake up 15 years ago. I would not have woken up to the degree that I did if my my wife at the time hadn't, I'll just say, gone down the path she went down. It took catastrophe for most guys, including me.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what put me here.
Breakups hurt men, you know what I mean? When those relationships end, your relationship obviously was a 10-year marriage, right?
Yeah, correct.
But I mean, it's guys, I mean, we've been in 6-month, year, 2-year relationships, whatever, and beyond. When a woman breaks up with us and leaves, that's when we ready to finally make a change.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate too, because sometimes you end up making that change and you end up becoming a much better man in a healthy relationship with another woman. Right. But the thing is, that would not have happened because I know women, they a lot of times they may hold on to it because they're like, well, I don't want that to happen. You know, he might end up being a better guy, but that's not even going to happen until you actually decide to walk away from the situation.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the right thing to do. I think there was a lot I loved about my wife at the time, but we were not a good fit. I only knew that afterwards. And my woman now, she's awesome. She's fucking amazing. She really is. And so sometimes it turns into something good. That crash and burn can actually help. You just wish that it didn't take that for us to wake up.
Yeah. I know. Listen, I know me and Ryan X's are watching this joint. Like, look at these cats here.
I saw anytime
look at these guys on here talking about relationships. They didn't know shit about relationships when we was dating them.
I told Tyler, like, yo, you know they hate us. You know they hate us. They got to.
Hey, look,
ladies, these men grew.
We did.
Yes.
Give them the right to have grown.
Yes. The caterpillars became butterflies, baby.
Yeah. But when a man is in a relationship and he just refuses to change, I mean, it could be so many things going on. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can't be in a healthy relationship with somebody who doesn't want to continue to improve.
Correct. Yeah. And address what is broken. What is clearly broken. Yeah. And to those guys, let's send a message to those guys. Guys, it's like, I know it sucks and I know it's scary to go into these things, but you can change in a way that opens you up to your woman's pain and doesn't make it so scary.
Yeah.
You can change. Things can be better. So if that's the message I give to guys, that's the one. You can change. You can change the relationship. You gotta want to. You gotta master these skills.
You gotta want to. And just for the ladies, just so you don't even end up in that situation, look for a guy who's open to change early in the relationship.
Oh yeah.
Look for a guy who's looking to make sure he's not already stuck in his ways early while you're dating and while you're evaluating his behavior. Because trust me, we like to think an old dog learns new tricks, and that's only if he's open to learning new tricks and he's been learning new tricks. Because typically, if his mind is closed, it is no can opener to open up that mind, especially 20, 30 years in a relationship. I literally, I don't know, with the long sound.
Long sound.
Shout out to you.
We got to work on that one.
But it's funny because I was dating a young lady who her parents have been married for 40, 50 years. And I was telling her, man, that's just amazing. And she was like, no, Ty, it's not. And what do you mean by that? He's been married for like 50 years. And she's like, yeah, but my mom settled. So what do you mean? She said, man, Ty, my mom and dad work at the same job. My dad has had the exact same role for the last 30 years. They ride to work together. He's typically miserable. He has these expectations for his, wife to be very traditional, to cook, to clean, to do everything. And they literally go to work and come back home at they have the exact same roles, but he does not want to take any domestic responsibility to the house. And on top of that, he literally has turned down every possible promotion at work.
Wow.
Because he said he does not want to take on to be a manager.
Wow.
Because he doesn't want to be responsible for anybody else. And on top of that, the management responsibility comes with having to learn Microsoft Excel, which he does not want to learn. Microsoft Excel.
Insane.
So she literally, and her mom is a servant. Like, she serves him. She's good to him, submissive to him, all of these things, even in his chaos. And she's like, yo, Ty, to be honest, I never want to be in that position. I don't even want to be that subservient to a man because of XYZ. And I instantly got fired up. I went in coach mode. First of all, because she instantly was not a woman I want to date anymore. Because I'm hearing this stuff.
And that shows that's some intergenerational trauma right there.
Oh my goodness. She went from a young lady that I was dating to a young lady that I was coaching very, very fast. And we had an amazing conversation. And now we keep it at amazing conversation because she's still dealing with a lot of what she saw coming in.
She couldn't help but be affected by it.
affected by a man that does not change.
Yeah.
And the man is the capacity of growth of the family. So the family does not grow any bigger than the man.
Mhm.
So the man decides to stay small and to
Mhm.
stay stuck,
Mhm.
the entire family
Mhm.
stays small and stays stuck.
Yeah.
So that's what she would, that's what her experience was. And unfortunately, you can't, that's why I understand when women say, I want my man to be ambitious. It's almost like a employee saying, I want room for growth in the company.
Exactly.
Like I want to be able to move up in this company.
Mhm.
I want us to be able to do bigger things.
Mhm.
Because if a man is not open to growth, even if the woman is ambitious,
Mhm.
y'all ain't growing. That's just
Takes
the
two to tango.
ugly
Yeah,
truth.
Yeah. Scared men don't grow.
Scared
Oh,
man. Wow, he was scared of Microsoft Excel.
Exactly.
No, he really was.
That's really sad.
We got one last hit with Sunshine and Beauty's question here.
Yeah, shout out to BU Fitness Incorporated for joining the channel membership as well. Shout out to Sunshine and Beauty. What are the implications when a man calls their lady the boss?
Oh my God.
It reveals his powerlessness that he feels but tries to hide. That's the most succinct way I can say that. It's a tell,
Yeah.
It's a tell that he feels powerless. Probably it's a guy with a little bit of bluster on top, because he tries to hide it, but that's a tell that he feels powerless.
I can only imagine his self-esteem is just at an all-time low.
Yeah.
Way to
But
not
he wants to hide that.
way to dry your woman up by calling her boss.
Yeah.
I mean, what a unsexy thing to call your lady.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, maybe if y'all are like, playing role playing and she's like what is it? He's the sub. Maybe
Yeah, she's the dom for the night.
Yeah, she's the dom for the night. Maybe in a role play like that, some sexual fetish, but that's about it, guy. Don't ever do that outside.
They literally stuck in doing anything to please their woman except for lead their woman.
Yeah, the thing she really is dying for. That's a great point, Ryan. It's like the one thing she's dying for they can't do, but they'll try to please her in all these other ways.
And I want to address something in here because Rashida, she's getting on me in here a little bit. She said, when I made that comment, she said, don't open up and be vulnerable with a guy you're dating. Got it. So I summarized what she communicated to me, Rashida. But that lifestyle that she said that she experienced had her dealing with a lot of present issues that we both in conversation concluded that she was not ready to be dating at that point in time. For real. She was not. She really was in the streets. She was really about to be running into some real problems in these streets with where she was. So it's not that you can't be vulnerable, but understand if you're vulnerable and I got some sense and I'm understanding what's going on, trust me, I saved us both some headaches and some problems there.
It's some incompatibility going on.
Yeah, with her and just about every man she was going to run in with. There wasn't nothing she could do but trauma bond, trust me. But with that being the case, first of all, GS, thank you so much for coming up on here and spending time with us all the way from San Francisco to be on Hardly Initiated. Again, please hold a book up for the people that still have not seen it.
GS is surgical with it, man.
Yes.
Surgical.
Guys, this book here, I promise you, this is a must-have book in your relationship that you need. I don't care if you're a man. I don't care if you're a woman. Men, it's going to show you how to have success, and it's going to give you a blueprint to understand how to operate with your ladies. And ladies, it's going to set a new standard for your man. Okay.
Thanks.
So,
and you know what I really like about this is the trust, lust, and devotion part. Because when I think about what I want from my woman, it's literally all those things.
Yeah.
Just trust that what I say is probably more than likely 99% is going to be for the best for us. Want to have sex with me a lot. And rub on me and touch on me a lot. And just be for me even when I'm not around.
Yeah.
She got your back.
She got my back. And so that's I mean, this is really the blueprint, man. It's like, it's funny. It's a comprehensive guide to how to be a better man.
We have the book. We actually have the book at
in the library.
In the library.
Yeah.
Yes. So the book, if you look in our library that we keep in our literally right down in the description, you can find it. The Masculine Relationship, we keep it in there. And you can find the book anywhere. It's on Amazon. I mean, the book is very easy to get. We put it right there in the description for you. And Yes, guys, listen. So
yeah, our ladies are
please
critical.
read this book.
Wait. I skipped Nikki. Nikki, I owe you a super chat. Nikki, email me at info@hardlyinitiated.com so I can make sure I take care of you and get your super chat. I didn't see that one, Nikki.
Yes.
I didn't see that one.
Nikki, email us
But
info
yeah.
at Hardly Initiated.
Our ladies are critical too, so they rock with you.
Thank you, K-Am, for dropping that in the chat. And listen, I want you guys to make sure, guys, listen, every Monday and Wednesday night at 8 p.m., we will be here for you, bringing you some more hot fire every Monday and Wednesday at 8
That's
p.m.
what it
Go
was.
ahead.
Yes, that's what it was. They was like, yo, what's up with you? You been with this lady for 10 years. Why you ain't put a ring on it? That's what they asking.
Oh my
What's the deal?
gosh.
What's the deal? That's what they asking.
That's those are some of my issues for sure.
How to finesse a lady into a long-term relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming out
Hey,
next
part
year.
two.
Right.
That's the next book.
Part 2. But man, again, GS, thank you so much. And thank you guys, as you already know, for tuning in to another episode of Hardly Initiated. All right, we are out.